What is going on, everybody? It is episode 256 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett. I'm here with my co-host. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, Crisis Actors. It's Mary. We are literally live, and we literally have two literal guests in the studio today.
Hey, I'm being shamed right now, guys, because everyone was just ignoring me and talking right as I hit the live button. So
It always gets chaotic in those last moments.
I'm being shamed.
Breaking news: Brett's being bullied on air. Never happens. Brand new information.
Plot twist: he was just bullying me for eating.
Well, no, guys. What I was doing, ladies and gentlemen, is I was shaming him because he was eating near a microphone, and
We're really airing the dirty laundry today.
I am nothing if not a sworn enemy of any and all ASMR. It's just it is an egregious affront to all that is good and safe in the world, and nobody should be listening to ASMR. I'm just saying.
Wow.
Yes, that's my hot take.
Strong
right
opinion.
Now. Hi, Mary. How you doing today?
I'm good.
How are you?
you?
I'm doing fantastic. Other than the public shaming and the ASMR, I'm doing good. By the way, you've already seen them both, but we have two
Yes.
main guest hosts today. Introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Hannah Glabremlo. I'm a figurative host on the show and a writer for timcast.com.
That she is.
And that's. Do I say anything else during this?
You're good.
Should I just admit
It's up
right
to
now
you.
that I haven't watched Fast and Furious 4 and I'll get to it? Stop.
She hasn't watched it yet, ladies and
I'm
gentlemen.
busy.
She doesn't take this as seriously as we
I
do.
take it extremely seriously. So seriously that I am stressed about it.
That is, I feel bad for her for that because I'm right now. I'm going through the same type of stress because we have to go pretend to want to watch Avatar: Way of the Water.
I'm not I'm not dreading it that much.
3
not
hours
as much
is a
as
lot
I
of-
was.
3 hours is a lot of time. I'm dreading it. I'm
As long as I get a nice beverage, a nice snack.
I could be pleasantly surprised. Who knows? By the way, we have another guest host today. Introduce yourself, sir.
What's up, everyone? I'm Carter Banks. I do music and stuff here at Timcast, and you may actually end up seeing me at Avatar, totally unrelated to you guys, because I love Avatar.
You love Avatar?
See, they exist. They really
What?
exist.
I told
The
you guys
Avatar
the last
stands are
time.
real.
Like, I got neutral. Like, I could understand people have neutral feelings on Avatar, but you love it.
I actually watched the first one more than 3 times in theaters.
What?
It's not a psyop,
Yeah.
ladies
In
and gentlemen.
3D, I assume.
Probably. I don't remember.
It's been a while.
It has.
Well, like all of the Avatar fans were in our comments
Yep.
after we were saying like we don't believe this movie franchise has a fandom, and they were
they do.
vicious.
From the very beginning, even before we covered it, Mr. H Reviews did like a thing on it where he covered it and he's like, who's actually going to see this? And like the comment section was just wall to wall, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. This is
Maybe
a bad
it's
thing.
all Carter. Carter.
we missed.
I have one
20
or two sock puppet accounts, maybe.
I think that we just missed 2009.
Is
that it?
You know what? That could be. I think I just missed the way I felt during Avatar.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's how I feel that's literally how I feel when I watch The Dark Knight, because I watch that movie and like as much as I love that movie and it is a fantastic movie, I think more about like when I went to see it for the first time, I was with like a group of like 10 friends and we brought alcohol into the theater and we got drunk and it was like it
The
was
good
a
old
time,
days for Brett.
It was a well, you know, it was a different time. It was a time in your life when things were simpler, so you're connected to something differently, not just the media itself.
Right.
But it is good to know that it is not a psyop, ladies and gentlemen. There are people that love Avatar, so that is a good way to start the show. It's like getting a treat. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. I want to talk about Black Adam, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, blockbuster movie budgets, and the $100 million misfire that is the Black Adam film. We are also going to talk about Balenciaga. It gets worse, ladies and gentlemen. That's like
Somehow.
It's like
But there
you
are
laugh,
some people speaking out,
Yeah.
not A-list celebrities, but some people in the public eye.
Yes. What else are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about
Dance Gavin Dance
Yeah.
has welcomed back their lead vocalist, Tillian Pearson, after a big scandal that we're going to talk about.
We're also going to talk about a hoe and a model telling you how to conduct your love life. So,
Yes.
okay, that's a very simplistic explanation. I'm kidding. It's a joke. We're Mia Khalifa and Emily Ratatouille. I will never call her by her real name. Have some takes on the dating habits of older men with younger women, and I found a particularly interesting Hulu show which kind of calls into question whether what they're talking about is in some way, whether it is or is not a little bit hypocritical. So if you guys are ready, we will just get right into it. Mary, are we ready?
We are.
Hannah Claire, are we ready?
We're ready.
Carter, are we ready?
Ready.
Alrighty then. I could have just said all at once now, but this works. Too.
Ready.
So
He
it says-
regrets this.
Yes. So it says Dwayne Johnson's Black Adam is going to be saved by Home Entertainment. And this is where I say that is a spoiler. That's not true. It is not true. So Black Adam reportedly losing massive amounts of money. So
Why does it make me happy?
why does it make you happy? Let's ask that question
I don't
first.
know. I asked you the question earlier if you thought there were some people rooting for the failure of Black Adam, and you said it would only be the critics that love Disney and Marvel
It feels like
that
Disney
would
shills
root
would
for
love-
it to fail.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I just think that this is a vehicle for The Rock, and they were stupid to think he'd be the main draw.
you. Well, here, okay. So first, I want to go through. I'm going to do the numbers first because that's the part I hate the most. So, basically, what we have here is the budgets for both Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, and Black Adam. For Black Adam, the number was totaled out to be 195 million. If you take the budgetary technique of 1.5 times that budget for marketing, you get a $292.5 million budget. If you times that by 2, that's $585 million. That's your break even.
This is the craziest word problem of all time.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm like hard to pay attention.
And then we get
with that.
Wakanda Forever, which is a budget of $250 million. Same principle applies. That is a $375 million budget with marketing all in, which means it needs $750 million just to break even at the theaters. Sitting currently right now, Black Panther Wakanda Forever is almost about to break even. It just passed, what was it, $733 million. So it's getting close to that point. Black Adam is only sitting at $384 million. And then they're saying like, well, that
Warner
maybe
Brothers is coping hard because
They said the budget was
Variety
maybe-
claimed that they would need to break even at 600 million,
Yeah.
and then Warner Brothers responded saying that they only need 400 million,
Which is not
which is
possible.
a huge difference.
Then they
and
made
it
up a
seems
number.
like a big cope.
They made a number. They're like, oh, it was only $80 million marketing budget. I'm like, no, it was. No, it was
Yeah.
not. Like, you're just coping hard right now. And the other thing about this is this was the worst Thanksgiving box office in history this past weekend.
Why is that? Do you think?
Think about this. COVID happened. 2021 after
Right.
COVID happened.
I mean,
okay, they say in
2020
history-
COVID.
That's what I'm saying.
happened
2020
also.
COVID happened. I actually, one thing is I didn't know if they counted 2020 COVID in there, so I left that out
It's a
of
huge
the numbers.
exception.
But in 1994, they said the worst Thanksgiving box office in history, but the last time the box office was that low was Thanksgiving of 1994. It only made $94.5 million, but adjusted for inflation, that's like way more than what you got, what you're making now. And it's like, I have to ask this question. Look, everyone here has worked in different fields in their life. Hannah Claire as a journalist, other fields, Carter working in music, others. Can you think of any other industry where you're routinely allowed to just take $250 million gambles, miss almost every time, and still get to keep doing it?
The stock market.
I
or
was
like
thinking that.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
That's
Not
what-
that I've worked in, but
Yeah.
no.
I feel like there are a bunch of guys on Wall Street who are like, yeah, don't do that. That's terrible. But they definitely do it all the time. I mean, I think part of it is, and I've pitched this before, some of these big production houses or studios or whatever, I have this theory that they're all doing it for a tax write-off, right? Like, if it's a business expenditure, you can write it off. So, like,
Right.
Amazon, what was the one that they just did?
Rings of Power.
Rings of Power. Like, I fundamentally believe that they were like, it doesn't need to make money because we're going to balance this out in the
Oh my
bottom
God.
line. Right?
I thought the same thing, but I would have to have somebody explain to me. Like, I actually looked that question up. I was like, is there a way that they write it off in their taxes? Maybe that's true, but it's the producers,
yeah.
not just the production company that loses the money, right? These movies aren't funded by just Warner Brothers. They're funded by individual producers in that project. Now, you could make the argument that they made $40 million back in at-home sales for Black Adam, but you're still nowhere near that break-even point. Merch, maybe. I see people wearing Marvel clothes in merch. I don't see people wearing a whole lot of DC stuff
Look,
outside of maybe Batman.
My thought basically is, and I'm not an accountant, so please don't take this as an actual analysis, but like if you report a loss, right? If you're making an
Yeah.
income and then the next year you make less, your taxes change. You possibly pay less in taxes. So I assume there are producers who would benefit from not always having hit after hit after hit after hit.
I had it written down here. It's like, is it written off as losses, or do the producers make it up elsewhere? Whether that's through deals for future projects, things like that. But also, is there a way in the music industry that somebody could possibly lose them that much money? Because don't they have to pay back advances if they don't?
I mean, yeah.
Like if a book doesn't do well, right? Like if a writer gets an advance on their next book and the book doesn't do well, they still have to pay back that advance if it doesn't cover the cost of that advance.
Yeah,
Well,
it's not just
the
free.
excuse that's coming from DC and specifically from The Rock is that it doesn't matter whether this is a huge hit or not. They're using the first Black Adam cinematic release to build the brand,
Yeah.
to build the beginnings of the next 10 years for DC. So it's serving more of a purpose for the longer story arc than it is in its own right. But still, that seems like a cope, because The Rock was supposed to be the big draw
Yeah.
for getting butts in seats for this film, but The Rock has never, as the main star of a movie, gotten one to gross over $500 million.
Which is funny because he was the highest paid actor in the world.
He's
for
like,
for
you're not
several
that
years
guy,
in a row.
pal. You're not that guy.
It's also funny because I'm looking at, like, I'm thinking specifically from a cost benefit analysis. If I'm the studio, right, and they come to me and they say, we want to make this movie. If I'm Warner Brothers and the DC executives say, we want to make this movie, or I'm Disney and Marvel executives say, we want to make this movie, and Black Adam has The Rock, who is a known actor, but Black Adam, which is admittedly to most normies a far less understood or known character, and you have Black Panther, which is a known character now, but no longer has Chadwick Boseman, who is the known actor. Yeah. Both of them have like huge things in the negative working against the idea that they're
huge
going to
voids.
that they're going to make their money.
And it's very cocky that they would give the Black Panther sequel a larger budget than the original.
I know, right?
$250 million. That's outlandish.
It's
not like they're not going to make a profit, right? But even if they make it close to 800 million, they're going to make a profit, but it's still way underperforming its predecessor and should not have had a greater budget than the last one. It should have a significantly lower budget.
And I understand projects that don't pay out right away, right? You build on something that pays out further down the line, but that's such a large, maybe it's just the amount of money to me that is shocking. Like, it's one thing to invest in something small and work towards it building a profit that will have longevity or work long term, but that's not really how it tends to work in this type of media, right? Like, once ad revenue starts drying up for network television shows, they start getting shorter and shorter seasons and then finally axed. I can't imagine a world where I could work any job where I would be paid that well and then expected to not have any type of deal on the back end. Now, also, does this change the power dynamic? Mary, we talk about this every day, with James Gunn now in control over there and him and The Rock not really communicating
allegedly
well.
Being on the outs.
Does this change the power dynamic? It would have given The Rock a lot more power within the company if he was able to say, look, I came in, I made the company this much money. You need to understand that I know what I'm doing. Let me make my movies the way I want. James Gunn can be like, look, my last movie, The Suicide Squad, didn't make any money. Your last movie didn't really make much money, but at least my Guardians of the Galaxy movies are always profitable and make money, and people love those.
Yeah, and another iteration of that series is on the way.
Yeah.
But it even seemed that The Rock was gunning, no pun intended, for James Gunn's current role, and he didn't get that. He was hoping to get a top spot in this so-called hierarchy of the DCU, and here's exactly what he said. We established Black Adam around the world as the most powerful and dominant, unstoppable force in the DCU. That is a fact. And we established the Justice Society around the world too. Keep in mind, if you were not a hardcore comic book fan, no one heard of Black Adam or the Justice Society. The hardcore comic book fans, we get your love, your loyalty, and I appreciate that to the bone. The rest of the world had no idea who Black Adam was, so we're establishing the brand. And that didn't work out thus far.
Carter, have you seen Black Adam?
No, and honestly, that may be the only thing they have as an excuse, because, like, I pulled this up and I'm like, what is Black Adam? Like,
It's big talk, but where is the money to back it
Right.
up?
I also
can't-
want to point out that for stuff like this, it doesn't really matter. The one thing comic book fans hate is when they start like shilling a character as like the most powerful this or that. They hate that. Like most people who love these characters don't want to hear about how Captain Marvel is supposedly the most powerful character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because everyone knows that there's an agenda behind it.
Because it means that the actor or actress's ego is wrapped up in the
Yeah.
character they're playing.
well, when the journalists do it, it's because they want to say, "Take that, you man babies!
Right.
Take that, you incels!"
Well,
They
even
just-
in The Rock's case, it seems like his ego was majorly wrapped up in this role, and then it didn't have anything to say for itself.
I feel like they're limited to The Rock fans because I'd rather see the movie with anybody but him.
Really?
Yeah.
Why do you
I don't
dislike-
wait, so
I mean,
you like Avatar?
Do you
but
dislike him
don't like
because
The Rock.
he's juicing?
Okay.
No, I mean, he's been around forever, and I've formed my opinion over the last 2 decades of The Rock, and it's like, I'm not going to go see a movie because of him.
To be fair, he was way more awesome as a wrestler when he's just a jerk
Well,
to everyone.
Well, and for this, it's 2 for 2, right? So you don't really care about The Rock, and you don't know what this is. So why would you go
Right.
see it?
Yeah.
Like,
Certainly not going to see the sequel and see it twice.
but you
Like,
either need to get on this universe now,
Right.
or you're out. And I feel like that's the strange gamble that they're taking. Like, I have never seen Black Adam. I have no opinion of The Rock. I wouldn't go see this movie. I don't know who they're marketing to. I don't know if they think that, like, by introducing a new element of this universe, they're able to pick up like
Thank you.
teenage fans who will grow up with it and then be obsessed with it forever. Like,
Right.
No, that's
this
not the
doesn't-
audience. It's
He's looking for
middle-aged men.
hardcore
It's-
fans.
It's middle-aged men.
And then they
Are
want
there
to
enough
elevate
of
the
them?
character
Yes,
of
there
Black
are.
Adam off of the coattails of Henry Cavill's Superman,
Yeah.
which is he got the cameo that lasted like 10 seconds at the end of the movie, which is such a cheap trick in my opinion.
And the more I think about it, like all the good movies we saw, like most of the movies I liked this year were not like I liked Black Adam, but not as much as I liked some of the other movies we watched this year.
I didn't like it at all,
yeah.
and I
You-
wasn't surprised that the critics gave it 39%.
I'm
are
surprised.
you guys
by
gonna
it.
do your end of year roundup of like favorite stuff you saw this year?
We could do that, but it's like, thank you. That was weird sounding. It's one of those things where I'll like forget everything that we saw possibly. Like, and plus I already know the answer. It's the television show Reacher was my favorite thing that I saw this whole year. Everything else
I can
is
tell
like-
you right now.
But it just feels like for all of these things, like you have this built-in demographic, and they're not finding a way to reach it for them. Marvel's making money, but still, they're going to break 800 million. The last one made 1.3 billion. Like,
Yeah, and domestically, the
inflation?
first Black Panther made close to what this one is going to make
Yeah.
overall.
yeah.
And then when you look at that, the budget for the sequel is just inexcusable, and they really need to have eyes commensurate with their stomachs. You know what I mean?
Do you feel like it would be good if like these studios tried like a process of humility where it's like, we'll give you the money to make this movie, but we're only going to give you so much, but it's up to you to make it work.
I feel like we're missing the point, which is that like these studios are essentially functioning the way globalist society does. Like they don't need to budget based
Yeah.
on one movie. Like I don't need to independently make the money off of my movie back if I know that ultimately we're in this collectively and you'll make enough money somewhere else to balance out the losses, right? Which in some ways I could see it being an argument for like that's empowering to artists and potential directors, right? They can take risks
Yeah.
and know that like they aren't going to be pummeled by the studio for not making back the money. On the other hand, like the people they're allowed, or like the projects that they're willing to take these risks on are stuff to me that are not interesting. And I know it's easy for me to say like I'm not interested in Black Adam because I've never been interested in any of this.
Yeah.
Like I'll go to a superhero movie if like we're all going as a group, but
Right.
like I am not independently counting down the days until the
Right.
Black Adam sequel comes out. Like I'm just not. And so to me, like ultimately wondering whether or not they should readjust their budget is sort of pointless because they have moved past that. Like they don't care about that. Their budget is structured based on the holistic growth of all of their projects.
I don't agree because they made $1 billion with Joker on a $50 million budget. I'm saying you can release more
I'm
material.
saying you can,
Yeah.
and some stuff that you spend money on could do well, But ultimately, they don't need to calculate like, well, we'll set your budget based on how much we actually think you're going to make. Like, they can set it on whatever they want because they are looking at the holistic health of their business.
They've moved beyond the need for genuine enthusiasm for any of their singular projects.
I don't know if I agree with that, because if there's one thing Zaslav seems to be pushing, it's that we need need movie theaters, not that we need streaming services.
But movie theaters for what?
Okay, so the idea here is like, what if you need the theaters? You need something. You're tied to at least one medium. Release more into that medium that year on smaller budgets.
But this is where I think the superhero universe wins, because it's like, well, you have to see it with the surround sound and you need this experience, whatever. Like, you could produce a ton of movies to direct to streaming or to whatever else, and those will help generate a profit for you. But if you feel like you need movie theaters, which I'm not sure actually all the studios really do, there's only a certain type of movie that people really feel tied to seeing it in that environment. Does that make sense?
They likened
Avatar.
They likened
okay.
it to.
So that's coming up again.
He likened it to streaming to the .com bust, right? That they're chasing subscriber counts that don't honestly mean anything because
they've evolved past the need for
Yeah.
profits,
Yeah.
but not for long, hopefully. And I did see this tweet that presents something of a silver lining opportunity that we could Morbius Black Adam.
And re-release
They
it?
said, what you're saying is we have the opportunity to do the funniest thing ever, gaslight another Hollywood studio into re-releasing a movie nobody cares about by pretending that we promised to actually see it this time.
I don't think it would work with them. I think
The meme magic is lost.
I think Zaslav is smarter than the people in charge at Sony. Like, Sony is kind of like it feels like with Spider-Man No Way Home is like what does Tim always say? Donald Trump slipping on a banana peel and doing a backflip.
doing a perfect
They're like, they
backflip.
accidentally do something really, really smart every once in a while. But that's how I feel about most of these studios, is like every time you think they're listening to you, they're not. They just got lucky. Like, it actually is just them lucking into a good decision every once in a while. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes. I'm just saying that maybe it's because we're so tied to talking about this stuff all the time. But I would like to see them dare to try to do these things on a smaller budget, limit the amount of CGI, and create more meaningful stories. And I feel like there's a market for that. If your idea is that purely business, globalist or not, the idea that there's story ideas that can be fulfilled because people want good stories, I don't see how that's any different.
As you know, I'm totally with you. I think we all should demand better storytelling from the movie executives, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think they do a terrible job. I don't understand how we could already be planning to have 4 or 5 Black Adams or
I mean,
5
the Rock
Avatars.
is already 50 years old.
Like, what
It's
is
gonna
this?
be like-
This is a ridiculous
Yeah.
plan.
Also,
but
it's,
I will say that the same way that you tell me we get 10 Fast and the Furious because they make money, like, if you are not operating on a profit-driven scale, they don't need to listen to the audience, right? Like, if the audience banded together and was like, we want better stories with less CGI, the studio is not bound to you at all because they are still making money.
Yeah.
They need the audience. Like, we talk about this, like, the only way to vote is with your dollar, right? Like, if you wanted different types of products, you would need to seek them out and put money towards them, and then maybe the studio would listen. But ultimately, like, it's such a weird, I'm in a cynical mood today, but like, it's in such a like overarching interwoven business that like, you don't get to vote. I wish you did. Then I would stop having sequels, right? I would
Yeah.
single-handedly lead the charge against 3, 4s, and 5s in these series. But like, ultimately, your money's coming in already. They don't need you.
I don't know if I like
Because you're too much of an optimist and a
shows-
capitalist to admit that we can't vote with our dollar
shows
anymore.
get canceled all the time for not doing well. Like, they get canceled quietly.
Shows maybe,
Yeah.
but not theatrical release
They
movies.
canceled Batgirl. I guess that was an HBO Max release. So yeah.
Owned, debunked.
Well, I debunked
live on air.
I
You
debunked
just
myself. So
You just
it doesn't
got
count.
owned, son.
It doesn't count because I owned myself.
No, he's right. He owned himself.
I'm proud of you. I feel like
Since
that's
nobody, well, I didn't even own myself. I corrected myself.
Right, he
which means I
retracted
wasn't-
before
Yeah,
anyone
so
Okay,
take that,
okay.
you incels. That's
Wow.
Thanks,
right.
PR team.
All
Yes.
right.
Let's go to super chats.
Regatan said, Han and Cart play Disco Elysium. It's a detective RPG.
He's back and he's telling us
I can
about
say
video
for
games again.
myself, if I'm Cart, I'm not going to play it.
I think
I
that's
think
He's
that'd be
Cart.
Hannah,
He's
Claire, and Carter.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
It took me a
Man.
second as well.
Why would you be called Cart?
I don't know.
It's a weird nickname.
It's not great, but it is part of his name.
Yesh said something I can't pronounce.
Thank you, though.
I see you, Carter and Hannah Claire. I don't know what that means.
Thank
Glad
you.
you're
Sorry.
looking at your screen.
I see you too.
BMF Nate Dogg said Avatar is 6 propaganda. It's weird that they do each other, the animals, and the tree.
Okay, Carter's head whipping up.
Is
Propaganda?
this true, Carter?
Okay.
Carter, being the resident Avatar stan, can you please explain this for us?
What do you want me to explain?
We want to know about the hair sex scene.
You
What
mean
is
the
it?
halu?
What does it all mean?
What?
The halu. That's the tail where they.
You really are.
I didn't
you
know the
the
lingo.
technical word.
Yeah, of course. I named
thought
one of my
this is
USB
sick
drives
stuff.
Carter's halu.
What?
So-
the-
What the?
So when you plug into the computer,
By the way, you're.
We just want to know why you halu with another creature, and also you halu to ride your horse.
I
so I don't
Oh,
get
yeah.
that.
And
That's
the
bestiality
trees?
if that's the way you're
Do you
looking
halo
at it.
with the trees?
I personally don't.
You
The
can't
Avatar-
defend this.
I
No,
do
I
also
can't.
want to point out your hair looks fantastic.
Oh,
today.
thanks, man.
That's just thought I'd say that.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
False God Dark Soul said, "Why brim a low when you can brim a high?"
that's a good question.
I have to ask my ancestors, but I love the wordplay.
Corey Anderson said, "Boobs."
Thank you, Corey.
Thank you.
Yes.
Kellen L said, "Good to see Carter B on PCC."
Rhymes.
What's
That's
up,
Carter
Kellen?
B. Caper2X said, "Brett, once again, DC misses the mark. So sad. Make mine Marvel."
See, this is why.
Dude,
Are you a DC or Marvel person?
I
don't know.
are we the Marvel shills?
No.
I don't know
I'm
what the difference is, but I know it's
Look,
a debate.
I'm with you.
Look,
Everyone who
Me and
insults
Carter,
Marvel,
I
by
just
the
bring
way,
Carter on to be confused with me on the
I
show.
make fun of anyone who plays team sport politics, team sport. I have an iPhone as opposed to a Samsung Galaxy. Choosing any team is
Someone
dorky.
in the chat, tell me right now if Brett likes Marvel or DC better based on purely on your observation.
I can tell you which one I like better, but that doesn't mean like I care whether one does better than the other at the box office or not.
You feel
I
personally competitive.
I like DC storytelling better. That does not mean I'm like I need DC movies to do well because it validates my existence.
yeah, anyone who
Suck
criticizes Marvel these days is called a DC fanboy, and anyone who criticizes DC is called
called
a
a
Marvel
Marvel
shill. There's no getting out of this dichotomy. How about I just dislike both?
that. There you go.
Caper2X said, "Howdy Carter, MCB, and Goody Morgan." These super chats are just throwing me for a loop today. I don't know what this all means.
MCB.
I think
What's the
was
M?
that from Caper2X?
Yes.
It says message retracted on here, so he deleted that one and then.
Okay, typo.
Yeah.
Sorry. Big Dave sent us 99 cents without a message.
And his
Thank
name
you.
went back to normal.
Yeah, interesting.
Welcome back, Big Dave.
Gold Mecro said, other than like 2 annoying scenes, what is that?
I don't know. He's
I-
talking about Black Adam was okay. It was an
It
okay
was
movie.
it was an okay
Yeah.
movie, Black
Yeah.
Adam.
Look, I never said it was a great movie. I said I had a fun time. Plus, it was also like 2 hours. And any time a movie is shorter than 2 hours and 30 minutes, I'm gonna support that idea. I want filmmakers to
That's how they're
start.
getting you hooked because you're going to be like, it was okay. I guess I would go see the second one.
Like as much as I love Zack Snyder's DC movies, and trust me, I know they're not without their flaws. They're way too long. They're way too long, and they're like there's too much gratuitous slow mo that's supposed to be artistic, but is not really artistic and doesn't need to be there. But in a world full of goofy Thor and goofy Marvel movies, I can take some seriousness every once in a while to balance it all out.
I hate both. Potatoes for Seamus.
Half our job is just me saying like, it was fine, and Mary's like, I hate it.
Potatoes for Seamus said, get Kellen out of the attic and on PCC with Surge. Interesting duo. We'll have to try that out.
Night Crew.
Yeah.
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 Gross John said, just heard about all the swatting nonsense. We all hope you guys are safe and doing well. We are.
Look, it's one of those things, right? Like every time something happens, I just go, ugh. Really?
Some
More?
offices have fire drills,
Yeah,
It's crazy.
Like we swatting drills.
These are just more intense drills.
Yes.
Caper
I,
2X.
but I also said what they need to do, they need to go the other way. Like you keep trying these like literally psychopathic techniques to put Tim out of business. Order 100 pizzas and have him sent to his house and just annoy him out of business.
Yeah.
Like rebuild a Ferrari. On
Don't
the
give
roof of
them
his
any
house.
ideas.
Tim's
I
afraid of
would eat the
carbs.
pizza.
Just send loaves of bread to his house.
Like I'm just like saying switch tactics and do something like more
So,
sophomore.
so are you helping them now?
No.
Send us cupcakes.
Yes.
Caper2X said, if Peeps don't know about the Justice Society of America. Any hope for the Legion of Superheroes? Starting to look like getting rid of the CW Arrowverse was a bad decision.
Look, for all the
There are so many words in there. I
for
just
all
don't
the
get.
problems that the
I'm disengaged.
Arrowverse had, like mainly using mostly New 52 storylines, they were at least very like committed to the bit, and the stories were consistent, and they came out on a regular basis so you could stay connected. I disconnected pretty early on after like some of those earlier seasons because it got very political because it's the CW, and the CW lost like, what did you say, $2 for every dollar they made. They were like $1 billion in debt or something when they
Really?
went out of business. So it is what it
CW.
is.
What is CW?
It was
I just
like,
know it had Gilmore Girls on it, and then it had like Supernatural.
Oh,
it's
okay.
like
So
teen girl like.
But then they tried to get too like into the.
No, they hook you early. Like they're like, we're gonna get the guys with the superhero
One
stuff.
Tree Hill was on it too,
Yes,
right?
I love One Tree Hill.
You do?
I
I've never seen it.
I love One Tree Hill. It's fantastic. Chad Michael Murray, Hillary Burton.
Well, he left Gilmore Girls to go be on that show. That's how I know about it.
See, Team Sport. She's like, I'm mad. I'm not going to watch that. Chad Michael Murray's on it. He left my show.
Nah,
to
he
go
was
be on
always
this
gonna
other
get written
show.
off eventually. Don't worry about it.
James Lafferty. That show had like a school pew pew episode that was just.
Oh no.
It was the best.
Like Degrassi.
Yeah, it was a different time.
Grassy.
That would
Yes,
not
a
fly
classic.
today.
No, it would not.
Potatoes for Seamus said, so when do we get a Brett ASMR eating near a mic? I don't know anyone else is asking for that. It's just
Well,
you.
since you asked, so
45
politely.
crisis parties in one episode of Brett's
And
It.
all I have
Oh,
to
yeah.
do in my like punishment is I have to eat.
We just give you like a bunch of different food you have to eat into the
You can
microphone.
just eat one bite.
But you have to wear your headphones so you hear it too.
25 crisis parties. I would do that.
25. That's much
25.
lower than mine.
All right, all
said
right.
a number.
Let's hold on. We're gonna
All
move
right.
on. All right, guys. So
Carter's like, what
The
is that?
Balenciaga situation
Oh, God.
just keeps getting worse. But there are some people speaking out, not the A-listers who partnered with Balenciaga.
The ones that should.
But yeah.
What do you mean? Kim Kardashian's revising or reconsidering her relationship with
Yeah,
them.
it's just a really hard decision.
really
for her,
hard
I'm
line
sure.
to answer.
She has to talk to her therapist about it. It's also
I have to
involved.
check with my marketing team to see what they think about kid diddlers. That's what she asked.
They
So
put up this terrifying ad, but they do dress me for most events.
Right.
Apparently, Kanye threw out all of her clothes one time.
Oh yeah, that was on an episode of
Too early,
their show.
Yeah, I went down a rabbit hole this weekend.
weirdly,
so proud of you.
I saw Kanye defending Balenciaga, which was bizarre.
That's par for the course right now, though.
But we're not going to talk about that today.
That guy's gonna zig and zag. Can't keep up with that.
Today, we're talking about Jeff Schroeder. He's a talk show host on something called the Daily Blast Live. It's a news broadcast. They go 24/7, and basically,
Where? Who's hosting this show?
I don't know all of their names, but yeah, they do like a 24/7 newscast of like everything, online trends, television, etc. So one of his co-hosts asked, do the celebrities need to speak out, or is speaking out not enough? Do they need to cut ties? And he decided to go off on Balenciaga, completely blasted them live on air, and he took his earpiece out, which suggests that people in the control room were telling him to stop.
Can I be cynical? The first thing I thought of was when Beyonce ripped her earpiece out when she was singing the national anthem, and they found out later it was pre-recorded, and they're like, "Oh my god!" She made it seem like she was like pulling it out like in an act of defiance as she's singing this amazing version of the national anthem, and they find out later that it was like pre-recorded anyway.
Well,
she wasn't actually singing
do you
live.
genuinely think that this
No,
rant was planned?
No, I'm just extremely
I
cynical
don't think
and
it
question
was
all
planned
media.
because all of the co-hosts sitting around him looked like they felt very awkward.
Let's show.
Let's show the whole clip.
We're gonna show the clip, and yeah, if you want to understand how fake talk, like actual like network TV talk radio or in TV actually is, like the faces on these people is just everything you need to see when he goes off script.
Where's the outrage? I'm going to go off for a minute here because
Please
where
do.
is the outrage? It's been a week and a half. And now we're doing this story. I get it. Thanksgiving was happening and all that. But they tried to hide behind that, right? Maybe this will make it through the news cycle. No, it's not, okay? Adidas didn't cut ties 48 hours after Kanye did his whole thing, right? And they got lambasted for not speaking out against anti-Semitism. This is a week and a half, and nobody seems to care that there's little kids involved in this. I can't speak what it's like to be a black man, right? I can't speak what it's like to be a Jewish woman, but I can speak what it's like to be a father of two young boys. And that this type of behavior. When I worked at CBS.com out of a little closet in my first show, I was like, I'm going to say this and wear a blue shirt. I got 49 emails saying, maybe wear a purple shirt and maybe don't say this here. Don't tell me this slipped through the cracks when you're getting a court case that features child pornography. It's disgusting. It's disturbing. Jeopardy's got to flip their whole production because of one person said something, but they wanted to be woke and do all that. How many other examples are there? 10, 20, 30, 40 years we're going back to cancel people? But this slips through the cracks. It's outrageous. And that people aren't outraged and skipping work with their posters and going to the courthouse or going to Balenciaga, and stars aren't wiping their Instagram and social media with all their Balenciaga gear is disgusting in itself. Don't you tell me, Hollywood, how to live my life, or you want me canceled, or because you produce something. You're going to go around because Balenciaga pays you $1 million, $2 million, $5 million. Kim Kardashian, shame on you. You're a billionaire. You don't need this company. They need you. And for you to take a week and a half to come to a conclusion, shame on you.
Yeah. The funny thing is, I have the clip from Ivory Hecker. There were no, like...
It's true what he said about no one is out there
Nobody cares.
on the ground. There's a lot of internet outrage, but no one's on the ground in front of Balenciaga, in front of their distributors, actually speaking out about this.
I'm going to play the...
Well, or Adidas, right?
Yeah.
So one of the images in that campaign is a collaboration with Adidas, and Adidas has not publicly commented on this, right? Like, there are arguably more Adidas stores accessible to people. No one's protesting outside Adidas. Like, I could understand where, like, I mean, how many Balenciaga stores are
I don't
there
even
in
know
the world?
where you would find one.
I have literally no idea. So I can understand where that is difficult to have on the ground people, but like, why isn't the other major company that collaborated on this, who's part of the product that's being advertised, not expected to comment? Like, it's been a long time. What's going on?
She points it out here because there's also Balenciaga sections in stores that they weren't.
Right,
That they
like
weren't,
Nordstrom's.
So, yeah, so...
Nationwide protests against Balenciaga today. I thought I would swing by the Balenciaga storefront at Galleria today. This is in the heart of Houston. No protest to be seen here, as well as inside Neiman Marcus that has
Nobody
a
cares.
Balenciaga section. Zero protesting. I did show up 15 minutes late. Maybe the protesters were there briefly and got kicked out. Who knows? But there's a security guard and an armed police officer, and it doesn't look like anyone is shopping at that Balenciaga. I talked to my friend Natalie Denise, who went up to Nordstrom that also sells Balenciaga at the Woodland Mall. She said there is a small group protesting there. Let me know if there was a protest in your city. The.MomArmy on Instagram said that there's about 28 different protests organized at Balenciaga stores. Protesters are using the hashtag #CancelBalenciaga in protest of the sexualization of children in the recent ad campaign. So after completing my uneventful report on nobody showing up at Balenciaga, mall security tracks me down outside of the mall.
Gosh, say it again.
Stop.
She's telling me they had a complaint from Balenciaga that I asked whether there was a protest.
Imagine, they're like, hey, we know that like we support like the abuse of children, but could you not protest outside our stores?
Right. But I also said, like, imagine being one of the sales associates at one of these stores and people are asking you to answer for the corporation and
Well,
you
you're
have
just-
no
you're-
idea what to say.
You're like, look, this is like I work paycheck to paycheck. I can't just quit and start a new job next week and be able to pay rent. Like I need to find a new job.
Yeah.
Could you wait?
So Balenciaga is one of the top selling brands, especially in China among young adults. Like, what I would be interested in is to see their numbers come, you know, the end of the year. It was so late in the game that you won't be able to see necessarily the biggest impact, but into next year. Because while I think it'd be great if people protested in front of, you know, stores or whatever else, like, more likely this is a like people are going to stop buying their products, right? I think you're more likely to see the impact that way.
Well, yeah, I mean, she said there's nobody shopping there, but I don't know how many people actually shop in an actual
Right.
Balenciaga store on a regular basis.
Adidas is a lower price point, so I think that the response should be stronger there if there's a larger customer base. But I think that this aftermath is what Balenciaga and their creative direction team is going to pay the closest attention to. Because as a lot of people have pointed out, this is testing the waters. They're testing the temperature. If people complain, depending on the degree of the backlash, they'll dial it back accordingly. And then when they repeat this the next time, pushing the boundary, it'll get all the way until public acceptance is achieved.
They dropped the lawsuit against the production company.
Right.
Yeah.
And no one is talking about this. It doesn't feel like
do people
any
care?
major outlets are still covering this after the initial blow up.
I feel this way about everything these days. Like, we really are, and I think people, a lot of times when you're this kind of tuned into news and what's going on in the world, you are in your own bubble of sorts. You feel like you're more connected to the world because you're taking in more information, but it's just that separates you from the average person who, look, we were driving home the other night. I was like, we went by like a dance studio and a karate dojo, and I'm like, there's kids, parents are dropping their kids off there. They're going to work. They've got stuff to do. They're not paying attention to this stuff. And these evil companies take advantage of that. They normalize this stuff. They weaponize your inability to be outraged because you don't have the time in the day to know what's going on.
Okay, I think it works in two directions, right? I think you're totally right. But I will argue that the outrage was so severe that people who are not aware of the Balenciaga brand, because it's a high price point, and also like they would not be shopping there anyways, they don't have the money, or they're not interested, or whatever, they have a life outside of a consumerist media driven world.
Yeah.
Those people will now associate the term Balenciaga with predatory advertisements involving children.
It's 100% correct in my case, because I only heard of it in a Chase Atlantic song as a lyric, and now I know Balenciaga as this.
Right.
Even I
only knew about Balenciaga because a YouTuber, Sophia Nygaard, had done a video on like their platform Crocs. Right.
Oh yeah, I remember those.
She's popular. They were very bizarre, like weird, but in an innocent way. And now all of that is kind of scrubbed, because I will argue that, yes, I wish there was more being done. I wish we got details about why this lawsuit was dropped. I particularly really feel like Adidas owes everyone an apology, and they are skating into the shadows of the internet being like, oh my gosh, cancel Balenciaga, not us. Don't ask any questions. But to be
Even
fair,
though their handbag is right there next
it's
to the
right
court
there.
document.
They also dropped Kanye. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right.
We should be demanding an answer from Adidas. The hashtag should be like, answer for Balenciaga Adidas, or answer
it
Adidas.
gets
Like,
worse.
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, so there are
gets
also
worse.
other designer fashion houses under the same parent company as Balenciaga, including
Should I even open the? I don't want to
open a Twitter thread that I found simply because the media doesn't cover this topic as extensively as they should, as their journalistic duty would be.
I want to give people.
I have resorted to looking
warning.
at tweets from independent journalists or just independent observers about this situation. And what they found is that the owner of Balenciaga's parent company, Kering, is Salma Hayek's husband, by the way. He owns an art auction website called Christie's, where you can find plastic mannequins of what appear to be resembling prepubescent children with genitalia on their faces,
Like Pinocchio.
replacing their facial features.
disgusting. Like, I don't
with
even-
like vaginal cavities, etc.
I've changed my. I don't want to open it.
I can't even say the title of the first one.
yeah.
because
I mean, even if we did open this Twitter
Yeah.
thread and you like saw this, I don't think we can show this on YouTube.
I don't want to. I don't want to risk that.
I
and
don't even want to like scar you guys by
Yeah,
showing
it's-
you.
it's disgusting.
But yeah, that's the gist of it. It's right there out in the open. His name is Francois Henri Pinault, and he has yet to make any statement responding to the backlash for this. But these are there are many examples of this.
The journalist's name is
They-
Dominique Samuels.
Yes.
On Twitter.
These mannequins are wearing little to no clothing. They are very clearly resembling prepubescent children, and these are just out in the open to be bought and sold online.
Yeah.
Like, that's it.
And it's evil. I hate to be that guy, but it's like I always hate when people are talking about Hollyweird, evil. It's evil. It's
Yeah, and
super
also
weird.
Supreme is another brand that
Yeah.
should be held accountable because they have sold skateboards with prints of these exact
couldn't
same
believe that.
mannequins on their website.
I'm like, who's buying that? Like, who bought
right.
that?
What
It
the
all feels like some larger, grander conspiracy, and we have no way of finding out what it is.
Like, it's one thing to say like the two brothers, the Chapman brothers, who run that art, who did like a lot of art for Christie's that her husband, that Salma Hayek's husband, owns. They're known for being like provocateurs with their art. Like they did Hitler art back in 2008, where they did like hippie motifs with Hitler art and stuff like that. But it's just like, at a certain point, you have to understand that they're just putting it in your face and laughing at you. And like I said, I think they weaponize the fact that people are busy and that the average person doesn't know stuff like this is going on. And that's more disgusting than anything, that they just feel they can get away with it. Isn't that like a tenet of Satanism, that they, as long as they say it to your face or they hide it in plain
or like
sight?
Yeah, I heard
karmic
that too.
retribution. At least that's what Andrew
Yeah.
Tate was pointing out.
Yeah, that's where I saw that.
Yeah.
And I'm
So-
sure there are plenty of useful idiots in the fashion industry that do just think like, that's so dope, that's so edgy, and they're middlemen for this. But
Edgy.
there are people at the top with nefarious intentions.
Yeah.
And I can hope that they get exposed in the media, but like, it's unlikely.
That's what I'm saying. Like, this is one of those things where I'm like, who is it? Dane yesterday was saying, it was like, you're extremely black-pilled and it's very frustrating. Like, it's like, look, because you can only, like, eventually you disengage, because you can only watch so much of this stuff happen
Right.
and see nothing change until you're like, I get why your parents develop their cynicism. Like, you can only watch so much corruption, so much deviant behavior, so much, like, blatant evil, and see nothing come of it, to be just like, look, at this point, I choose like, either you dedicate your entire life to bringing these people down, in which, you know, you end up like having to make some statement on Twitter like Elon Musk and saying like, I am not suicidal
Right.
or whatever, or you disengage and you're like, look, I have to put my own health, my own family, my own existence first, otherwise the injustice of it all. And this is the same thing that happens with a lot of like the climate activists. As much as I might make fun of climate activism, they're literally black-pilled into like, look, the world's going to end if we don't do something now. And I see how people get disengaged because it's awful. It's evil. You're seeing it happen in front of your faces by companies that are billion-dollar enterprises. If not, I mean, I bet you some of these companies are approaching
Many
billions
billions.
of dollars over. And it's just like, what do you do? Like, the best thing I can say is like, I have the ability to talk about it here. But like posting about it online, I would just feel like I'm shouting into a void.
Well, I think also there, especially with this kind of issue that involves children, and it's so like disgusting and creepy.
Yeah.
Like some people know immediately. Like I think the objective with all of this is to blur morality, to constantly suggest that everything is a gray area, that we're being provocative or whatever else, to get you to compromise your values and allow you to put you, or especially young children, in positions of dangers for
Yeah.
their own gain.
And
I
celebrities
think that-
play a role in this.
Sure. And I think that part of what happens here is like people who are absolutely against this, right? They see it, they know it's wrong, they don't like it. Like they're not going to reshare the images.
Right.
I
feel
feel like
disgusting even having happened upon it.
right.
I
And you
couldn't
also
show
like,
it.
so to a certain extent, they don't need to be convinced. They don't need to tell you on social media.
Right.
Like they know it's wrong. And I think it's the people who are like, well, why would they do that? Or like, what about this art? Like when there's the gray area, that's the population that these kinds of efforts are targeting, to be like, no, it's not really that bad. Like it's kind of okay. And that suggestibility is what makes them vulnerable.
I also want to point out that it's kind of like we've discussed before, that everyone picks their outrage. I was reading an article earlier where Natalie Portman like talks about how the rise of anti-Semitism again is just awful, and it is.
Notice
But
how
we're, like,
literally every
Yeah.
A-lister responded to the DEFCON tweet.
yes, but nobody's
every single
talking
one.
about this. And the other thing is like, look,
But to be fair, if they've worked with Balenciaga, that means they've taken money or benefited in some way. So in some way, they are complicit in the actions of Balenciaga. So they should take a vocal stance against this,
Well, that
right?
was-
But Balenciaga has them in a chokehold because it's like, oh, but we dressed you for this award show.
Well,
but you've taken this deal with us.
In Kim Kardashian's case, I just don't see that, because like that talk show host was saying, they need you more than you need them, and she needs to protect her name more, like in a selfish way.
But you have
more
to see
than
what
the
her
money.
clause is in her contract with them. If she's an
Oh,
ambassador
yeah.
for that brand, like what kind of disparagement clause do they
Wouldn't
have her
morals
in?
clause
I'm sure.
I
Yeah,
think
I'm sure
she
there are
should-
extreme circumstances where she can walk away, right?
Right, maybe, but she's probably talking to a lawyer about it, I would hope, at the very minimum. Like, I'm not defending it I think she has enough money where she should take the financial hit for any sort of disparagement payment she'd have to make to
She would,
Balenciaga.
the
but like,
positive press she would receive from that would be beneficial
Of
anyway.
course.
right. But I'm just saying, like, you have to remember this is a business relationship. And if you are willing to try and slip this kind of strange imagery into your ad campaign, think about how well your contracts are designed.
Also, there's two more things. So, the video, both of those videos hit me for different reasons. The Ivory Hecker video hit me because I thought of like the Women's March, and I think of how many women showed up for selfish reasons. My opinion, selfish reasons for the
To stand
Women's
up
March.
for like the sexual revolution and
they're-
wearing pink hats
yeah.
and feeling a sense of belonging.
But it's even worse. Like in a lot of ways, you stand up and remember, I am a libertarian. I am pro-choice to a point. You show up to a march to advocate the death of children, up to 9 months, whatever, but you can't show up to Balenciaga to protest the abuse of children, or at least the glorification of the abuse of children by a company, right?
And that's ironic considering they always are the crowd saying, pro-lifers don't care about women or they don't care about like how children are treated after they're born.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is an example where you could show that you care about how children are treated after birth. And they're being shipped across the globe as slaves.
Even if
like,
we don't go
this
into
is
that,
a thing.
because we don't have I don't have the documented proof that they're doing that specifically. Just
Maybe not Balenciaga,
just
but
the promotion of it is enough to protest. Also, the other thing is look, the other video. Look at the journalists who get super uncomfortable, and I'm like, if the exploitation of children isn't enough to make you brave in the face of like the mild inconvenience of like maybe being like having your wrist slapped at work and told like you're getting a fine, this and that, you couldn't even muster like a face of disgust,
Especially as a parent.
Are you actually not disgust? Ooh.
Is it a Christmas party?
It is.
Wait, this is so great.
That's cool.
The tone change right now.
Merry
I have
Christmas.
whiplash.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that was amazing.
This is a weird change in tone. My
That's
goodness.
actually, it doesn't scare me. The other one scared me. Not like
I'm just
really,
saying
but-
that to me, like that is shocking to me. It's like, especially all these people who are like, I would have like they think they're revolutionaries and they think that they stand up for all of these things that matter. When in reality, if the base instinct of protecting the young, those younger and vulnerable, more vulnerable than you, if that doesn't kick in because your job has you by the short hairs, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah,
Like, I don't
that's
know
the
what to
exact
tell you.
sentiment that Jeff Schroeder was posting on his Instagram. He reposted the clip of his rant and he captioned it, "Where is the outrage? When did sexualizing children become a gray area? I'm so lost in my profession and the thought process that goes along with it." That's exactly it. It's like when you're a public figure, a talking head, even on a lower level, like I'm sure a lot of people haven't heard of the Daily Blast, like even in your place in life, like you should speak out.
And I'm not even saying like those other people needed to be the brave one who did it first. I'm saying
No.
that this guy did the hard work, and you can't even just look equally as
You can't
upset.
even nod.
Like they look uncomfortable, like they're worried about their job. Like they don't look like they give a crap about what's going on.
Or they're hoping he'll take the fall.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's disheartening to watch scenes like this. But at the very least, we know that Twitter is still mass deleting and reporting child exploitation materials on the platform. That's ongoing, and hopefully that will lead to a complete eradication of those materials on the platform, and the process for reporting it will be streamlined, and we still see independent journalists on Twitter making these threads, doing the real investigative work.
It really is only that's the other shocking part here is like Ivory Hecker mentions Natalie Denise or whatever her name was, right? Ivory Hecker's an independent journalist. This guy had to risk his job just to do this. The only people that are really doing the work are the people that aren't affiliated with these multi-million million or multi-billion dollar corporations. And it really does tell you, first of all, how important those jobs are. So if you find, like, if you have somebody that you find does really, really good work, look at what Matt Taibbi is doing with the Twitter files and everything like that. It's not really connected to this completely, but support those people, like, in as much as that you've seen their work, you believe that they're acting in good faith and they're doing honest journalism. That's important. That should be supported. And like, if we're going to take on something like this, where it's billion-dollar corporations promoting the worst behavior that a human being could possibly imagine, like, that's a very scary, like, deficit to be at when they have all the power, all the money, and none of the morality that you would hope that a person would have when they have that much power. So
Let's go to super chats. Gold Macro said, also, the only thing you count down to is Taylor Swift concert, Santa Claire. We can't trust you.
I don't have a countdown for that.
Wait, did
I
you
bought
get
the tickets. I've bowed
You've done
out.
the work.
Yeah.
So you're excited for the concert?
I am. It is funny to see, like, the response I've gotten from people who are like, hey, so, like, maybe you could sell the ticket and we could all get some money back. Like, I've never seen
Yeah.
so much we.
Like, all of that trouble was for nothing?
Yeah. Also, like, they didn't pay for the
profit.
tickets. So,
Yeah.
I mean, like, people have paid me back for them, but, like, it is interesting how, like, collective hive mind people have gotten about generating a profit off of this.
Do you think it's do you think it was like my joke was like the government was like trying to get everybody off the FTX thing? They're like, oh my gosh, Taylor Swift, look at the Taylor Swift scandal, and they're like, no, it's not big enough. Kanye, go be crazy.
Oh my gosh, I hope he gets a huge tax write-off if that's the theory. Well, the Taylor Swift thing is interesting to me because Ticketmaster has an obvious monopoly on this.
Yeah.
And so I just don't think anyone else could have gotten enough people outraged at the same time to, like, re-spark that conversation.
Do you think that did you
Except
see
maybe Kanye, but I don't think he's on tour.
Did you see that the FTX guy was speaking at like a convention just recent, like just in the last week or two, was like still speaking at like a college or something like
he's
that?
just bopping around.
It's just
It's
like,
insane.
I saw Anna Delvey speaking out against the FTX guy.
We're in a-
Bankman-Fried.
we are in a
Like,
bad when you know
Thought she was
she's
in
speaking.
prison.
we're in like
the
a
most cursed, like, duo.
we're in a post consequences era. Casey Anthony's just like, hey, come watch my documentary. It's going to be great. Like, you just can, like, come back from pretty much anything nowadays because
I appreciate her attorney on that one.
Casey Anthony?
Yeah, I did a whole report on it. She's got, this is a different subject. We can talk about this later, but yeah. I don't even know why I said anything, but
Well, no, go ahead.
No, I want to
Well,
Carter segue.
okay, so-
Carter segue immediately.
well, the segue is just I wanted to be an attorney before, music and stuff, or not before, but like I thought about it and I thought the case was really fascinating. I watched the whole thing, and he just had a really good argument, and you can beat the law even if she is guilty.
Yeah.
It's probably a hot take, but I don't know.
It'd be great to see a lawyer with that hair.
Yeah.
Yes.
That alternate universe where
Yes.
Carter is a lawyer.
Like, also, the more I watch of stuff these days, lawyers really are just the last people in the world that are allowed to be awful to people.
Sorry,
all
it's
the
just
time.
me imagining Carter delivering his, like, closing arguments, like, with a guitar. The jury being like, this guy's convincing.
When I read, like, statements made by Weinstein's defense lawyers, I'm just like, wait, would they even be allowed to tweet this?
Nope.
Without getting banned?
Nope.
Oh, definitely not.
Lawyers got it made.
Big
you can
Dave,
say whatever you want.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much.
Big Dave said, I didn't care for the leet version of Big Dave. Neither did I, Big Dave.
We like Big Dave original.
Yeah. Francisco Sanchez Jr. said, I know Brett will say Reacher, but what is everyone's favorite and least favorite piece of entertainment in 2022? For me, The Northman best and The Cottage worst.
What's yours?
I don't know what the worst. What was something that I didn't? Was there anything that I didn't like? I don't think so. I think
You
I like
always
to
give
become
things
more
the
critical.
benefit of the doubt. Like,
I'm like, they tried. Like, look
even
at 'em.
Amsterdam, you said that you liked it.
I didn't like the third act, but I thought Amsterdam was okay. There's something else in it. There was some. Oh, we tried to watch She-Hulk, and I thought She-Hulk was hot garbage. So, like, feminist garbage. So maybe that.
I gotta say, my least favorite of things we've reviewed is Thor: Love and Thunder.
Okay.
I think.
Oh, yeah, that was bad.
That was even worse than Multiverse of Madness.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Favorite so far, probably Glass Onion.
Wow. Yeah, I guess Glass Onion. Maybe I would have put Moonfall on there or Death on the Nile. Oh no, no, that's not. I can't say that. That would.
Wait,
that
what?
wouldn't work.
What do you
No,
mean?
they're all kind. I'm looking at all these. I watched Moonfall, and like Moonfall was awful, but I got a kick out of it because it was so bad. But most of them, like that would have been the objectively out of all of them, the objectively worst of the projects that we watched. But the rest of them are all just kind of generically. And then Jurassic World Dominion was not very good
Ooh,
either.
Kenobi was really bad. I forgot about that. That
Oh,
might have
yeah,
been
and
a
we
worse
watched it-
experience than Thor: Love and Thunder because it lasted longer.
In like even Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, we were like.
I mean, Rings of Power was at least like I can ignore it while I do something else.
Yes, exactly.
Carter, do you have an opinion?
Worst
That's-
thing you watched this year?
I'm like struggling to think of what I've even seen. I think I probably watched like maybe 2 shows on Netflix.
And they had to have come out this year. Like that's
Yeah.
part of
I thought
Oh my
The
God, such
Watcher was
restri-
pretty good.
the
Oh
what?
yeah, a lot of people like The Watcher.
Yeah.
I don't even.
You was also good.
I saw.
Little woke,
What's it called? Everything.
Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah, that was pretty
What is
good.
that about?
Oh, and I also
It's
forgot
just weird.
Bullet Train was high on that list for me
Oh, Bullet
too.
Train was great.
Bullet Train was
that
really good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that would be my favorite actually.
there you go.
I don't want to say the worst things are the Fast and Furious movies.
Doesn't
But-
count. Didn't come out this year.
It's yeah, okay, that's why I'm not saying it.
But you still had to watch it this year,
oh my
so it
gosh,
technically
I'm a
counts.
struggling team.
Brie Louise said, I need to watch Avatar again. Saw it once when I had a fever, so I'm not sure what was actually going on.
Nothing
I
will
don't
change.
think
That's how
the
we
second
all saw
time
it.
around is going to make much
Carter,
more sense than
Oh,
the
it
first.
does. The third's even better.
The third's the better.
No.
Can you give us an Avatar synopsis, like in 10 seconds, 30 seconds?
To be honest, I really couldn't.
See?
No,
This
you
is the
No, hey, look,
average
wait,
Avatar
wait,
stan.
okay,
I
so
knew
they-
this series had no plot.
No, it does have a plot. It just takes forever to land, and it doesn't.
Takes 13
you know,
years to land.
The guy gets in a cryogenic thing, and he wakes up in Avatar Land, and then he won with the avatars. Falls in love with one of the blue ones, which they're all blue.
But he was like, this is a special shade of blue.
I can
I
tell.
don't know if I would say that. That sounds. But anyway, yeah, it was just amusing to see. You know,
I got
I have no.
I got really
know what
severely corrected because I was like, I have positive memories of like the excitement of going to see it, and it was like in 3D and like going to theater, and I swear it got released in the summer. And someone like super chatted and was like, it got released in December. So I clearly have no.
Well, that was the positive vibe I had. Was like I remember it being a little frosty when I went to see it.
Oh,
and
okay,
it's
okay. I don't know.
Caber2X said, as a palate cleanser, have you all seen Wednesday?
I'm through the first episode. I keep watching it right before I go to bed, and I fall asleep. I'm just.
I
It's
do
like
have
the
plans
new
to
Addams
watch it in
Family
full
remake.
eventually.
Yeah. So
I haven't seen it. I really like the old Addams Family.
yeah. Well, people are
Like
very
the old or the like 90s?
Like all of the older ones.
Okay.
They're a vibe.
All right. Let's move on. Dance, Gavin, dance.
Yeah,
yeah.
we've talked about this situation before, but we have the update to give you now that Tillian Pearson is back in the lineup of Dance Gavin Dance that was once in question because he got a slew of accusations that, I mean, it's hard to define it, but that he was coercive in his intimate relationships. And all of these accusations so far have been mostly anonymous.
Is that
So-
does that make it harder to believe when they're anonymous for you guys?
Not necessarily, because one of them did have pictures as proof.
Yeah.
One of them was a picture from inside his apartment.
Pattern of behavior too, I guess.
Yeah, there's something to be said for that too. So the main ones were an anonymous Reddit user who claimed that he coerced her into having sex with him, and another one had a more complicated account, but basically said that he was violent with her in a sexual context without asking first, but he seemed ignorant to like the way that it was inappropriate in the moment.
Yeah.
The first account that I mentioned just now is the more credible, just because she has screenshots of their text messages, a picture from inside his apartment, screenshots from their messages on Hinge where they met each other. So reportedly, he went on a date with this woman the same day as the funeral of his bandmate who died of an overdose this year. And they went on this Hinge date like the same day. That's what she said, at least, that he had just come from the funeral.
Does it seem weird, like in a society, like when you go through something traumatic in the old days, you'd lean on people you knew, when
Right.
something bad happened, and now you.
But
lean
if you're
on a
like
stranger.
alienated, you go on Hinge and meet
Yeah.
up with some stranger.
Like I don't know what that says about society, but I feel like there's something deep there that I'm not.
The fact
I'm
that
not
he
quite
admitted that
grasping.
to her should have been the first red flag.
Yeah.
Then she claims they went back to his apartment because he offered for them to like have some wine, whatever. And I don't want to get into all of the graphic details, but basically she said that he forcefully coerced her into intercourse when she had said no multiple times. And when this story originally came out on the anonymous account, he responded saying that basically he's been struggling with alcohol abuse, that he needs to go to rehab, go to therapy, and focus on himself for a while. He said that he, at the time, from his perspective, thought all of those interactions were consensual, but he apologized nonetheless. So a lot of people saw that as an admission of guilt.
Yeah.
So then he stepped away from the lineup. They started touring on their new album, which came out in July, called Jackpot Juicer,
Right.
without him.
With a
They
different
had a
guy.
stand-in named Kurt Travis. And it was unclear whether Tillian was ever going to return to their lineup. They announced in November that he was.
Yeah.
And he gave a new statement saying that he was addressing his issues head on through an intensive program of therapy, and he's rehabilitating himself from alcohol dependency.
How do therapists end up winning in every situation like this? Because that's like the way that everybody now gets out of everything. Like they're like, "Oh, I'm seeking help." Mm-hmm. Like.
Specifically, what he
It's just
said
the
at the
easy way
end
out.
of that statement is, "It's important for me to address something that has been twisted and misrepresented during my absence from the band. The work I've done on myself and my substance abuse issues has nothing to do with any kind of sexual misconduct. I have never had sex or any kind of intimate relationship without the consent of a partner." So he denied all allegations, but he didn't get into the details of why they were false. And now a lot of people feel like an explanation is still needed, yet they're going along like nothing ever happened.
Yeah, like what do you do if you're the band in this position? Like,
I mean, what if
You
what if
just
he is
ignore it.
guilty? What do you do?
He could absolutely be guilty.
Right.
Like, it's like this is the world we live in now, where like 20 years ago, it would not even 20 years ago, for like 30 or 40 years ago, these things just wouldn't have reached the public as fast,
Right.
and it
Well,
would take
Or at all.
Tell me if you
Yeah.
disagree, Carter. I don't think that Dance Gavin Dance as it exists now would exist without Tillian Pearson. I think if they tried to replace him with a new vocalist,
It'd
it
be
would
done.
be too late.
Even
First they lose their
watching- yeah,
bassist,
right,
and
right.
now they lose their lead vocalist, which gives them an incredibly unique sound.
Right.
They would be done for.
Right, and Kurt Travis, I didn't know that was their stand-in. He's actually one of their original singers too, and it still didn't sound
Mm-hmm.
anything like I knew it wasn't Tillian. Very close, but not Tillian. Like,
yeah,
you
and he
can't
was
have-
actually getting trashed on the road for not being able to hit the same high
It's
note.
not his
Poor
fault.
guy
He's just
that, like,
standing in.
Imagine that
Yeah.
being that guy
Right.
and having to do
He's like,
that.
"You're lucky I'm here."
Right. No, seriously, because what would they have done? They just put out a new album. I mean, no, the band would effectively be over.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
if it
so maybe
wasn't
they
for
feel
him.
like the stakes here are too high
They
for
are.
us to even hold him accountable if he is guilty.
How big of a band? Like, is this one of those things? Like, this isn't like a band that's so big that like how many people are they? They're not
So
employing people other than
The thing is, they climb their way to the top from the bottom.
Okay.
They've been around for a long time, and then they had like a exponential growth, and they now have like their albums are themed, so they have like a cult following, but they're also reaching mainstream at the same time.
Okay.
So, and Tillian by himself is like a phenomenal, singer writer. He just did a thing with Polyphia, which is now like leading prog rock. They're from Plano, I think, but extremely talented.
Texas forever, am I right?
Yeah, no kidding. But yeah. So they're getting up there. I mean,
But what I'm saying is like, okay, so depending on how many people, like they have managers, they have a label, they have all these people that basically
Oh, right.
that they're working with, right? How many people end up unemployed if they are no longer, if the band is put out of business because one dude did a bunch of awful
And
stuff?
even if he walks away from the band, he has such recognition in his
Right.
own right as a soloist and with other
Producer
projects
also,
that
so.
like he would be just fine. It's the bandmates who would be in trouble.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So he like it's almost like his selfishness and bad behavior.
He
runs
governs the
headlong-
whole thing,
runs
which is
headlong into his
ironic
talent.
because their previous vocalist, Johnny Craig, is
What?
exactly the same type of dude that they're
Yeah.
claiming Tillian is now.
Right. Well, when you put Johnny Craig up next to Tillian, as far
looks
as
like a saint, right?
actions in the past go, yeah, like you got one guy who's checking himself into rehab without telling the band right before a huge tour because he knows he won't be able to get heroin. And no shade at Johnny Craig. I think he's probably one of the best singers that
That has
exist
to
right
be-
now.
He's great
That would
too,
have
yeah.
to be like one of the hardest things in the world.
Right.
Like it's hard enough to get help when you're like a pleb and like you don't really have much going for you. Like trust me, I know. Like it's very
Yeah.
hard to get help even when you're completely on the outs and you've got nothing going on. But having to deal with the the pressures of a very like serious professional career with a lot of people counting on you, and then asking yourself like, when do you actually like? That's what happened to me. Like, right, I didn't have like but it's like you don't have like a huge career, but it's like, look, you're in a relationship, you're working full time, however menial the job, you're taking care, you have family members, you have all these things. When do you take the time to just take a month, 2 months, 3 months out of your life
Right.
to just stop and get help? But you need to do it, because if you don't, it's kind of like a problem. It's like a snowball rolling
Right.
downhill, right? If you don't address it now, it will get progressively worse as you fall farther down. So those problems are exponentially worse when you involve a ton of money, a ton
Right.
of notoriety, and all
Yeah.
those things. And that's just the substance abuse stuff. That's the other guy. Like, we're not even talking about the allegations here, which are far more nefarious.
Yeah.
And Carter,
yeah.
I'm sure you're aware that like people in a touring band are far more vulnerable to end up in a path of life like that.
Oh yeah, I mean that's comes with the territory. Not what
toured.
Tillian's been accused of doesn't come with the territory, but like
The substance
You-
abuse.
It's not any type of
that-
excuse if it is true.
no, for
Yeah.
sure, but it's definitely around you more. I also want to point out they misspelled Tillian's name.
They did.
in,
They
uh,
gave 2 L's instead of 1
right,
in
and
this
it's
one article.
even in the text message right there. It's so obvious.
She
that
didn't
it's just
even know
one.
his name, even though she's supposedly a super fan? What do you mean?
Oh, the person who wrote this?
Yeah, like the author claims that she was a big fan of this band, and
Oh,
now
well.
she's
In news writing, that would
exposing
be
herself
a negative
by
100
not knowing the
points.
spelling of his name.
Let's go through the phrase.
Yeah, here's the-
consent. I want to address this phrase, which is from his perspective. So he says, although Pearson claimed that it was a consensual experience from his perspective, he remained silent on allegations on alleged graphic and disturbing details from the night found in the text. How does one in a world now that's so governed by gray? I think of like this is not the same thing as the Aziz Ansari thing, which is like
Sure,
that to me is gray. Like she sees that, he sees a bad date. That's not what I saw here.
But the
Can you
story
ex-
this Reddit user is telling is very black and white if it is true.
Can you explain it in the most PG way possible?
Well, I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the
She says she said no multiple times, tried to push him, literally physically push him off of her,
Yeah.
and he did not move. And then she had to just coalesce.
basically like had the presence of mind to pretend to want to do whatever was going on until she could get away.
Basically, that's what she said.
That is like, if it's true, it's evil on
Right.
his part, and it's amazingly like the ability to have that type of forethought in such a traumatic situation is terrifying that she would have to go through that.
I think that the bandmates probably feel it was a miraculous stroke of luck to replace Johnny Craig with someone with equal talent and signature sound
Yeah.
as Tillian, and they can't accomplish that again. So even if this is all true, there's no avenue without him.
Part of me can't accept that it's true. If like I can't imagine those guys knowing this. Like some things are just unforgivable.
Yeah.
And I know they lost their one of their members, and then this thing with Tillian, but I couldn't work with somebody who I knew did something like that.
No.
Some people do, though.
Yes.
That's the thing, especially in this industry.
I could imagine the record executives having no problem with it.
I
Like,
do
yeah.
think Dance Gavin Dance in this situation probably believes he's innocent. And that's how they're able to do that.
Yeah.
And for all we know, he might. I mean, we're not hearing his side.
This is also the really hard part for like people that consume media, right? Like, does it change your ability to watch something? Because look, a lot of people, one of the most common comments we get when we talk anything Netflix, when we talk anything streaming like that, they're like, look, I haven't had Netflix since Cuties came out. That's standing on principle. Like, I'm not going to support this type of.
It actually reminds me of the conversation we had about Chris Brown. Like, do you consume Chris Brown's music without, or like knowing that he has been obviously charged with like domestic violence issues? Like, it's hard to say. I mean, to your point, I would feel bad for the rest of the band that has to go down with this. You know, obviously there's nothing that's been proven in a court of law, so like a hedge on that. But these allegations are serious. It's different than consuming the single, like Chris Brown alone, although Chris Brown also has producers and managers who depend on him for their income.
And it's like, in the end, it's still a he said, she said in a world where I don't know whether I'm supposed to, like, what is my position supposed to be on this? In the, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence.
Right.
Was that standard met here?
Yeah, the sentiments I'm seeing on Twitter are all over the place. One person said, "It's actually nuts that so many people instantly decided they believed the girl's stories without even giving a second thought to the fact that people might be lying on the internet." But then another person said, "F DGD, F Tillian, and F anyone defending and or still listening to them after everything. That's all. Don't at me either. I'm not about to discuss coercion with asshats." So people are all over the place
Unfortunately,
on their
this is
conclusions.
Yeah.
And another kind of funny detail about this is that Asking Alexandria's Danny Warsnop's ex-wife is now currently dating Tillian. I just thought you would find that amusing, Carter.
I do find that amusing.
So people are making decisions.
But
Maybe she can be a character witness for him.
Yeah.
In the internet age, he said, she said, or he said, or they said, she said, whatever.
They, them said.
They, them said is more and more common than it's ever been. And it's like, it gets harder as you get more jaded and older. Like, when do I, like, do I just decide who to believe here?
Well,
or do I
listening
just
to
close
Mary-
my eyes and consume, or close
Right.
my eyes or ears and consume the media and hope to God that I'm not supporting some type of evil person?
It just sounds so much like the political divide. It's like you got people on both sides, and one is like, F you if you take this and you're still listening to them. Like, it's, it just makes me think, okay, left and right.
Yeah, I don't like that this is being made into some kind of like political issue when it's something that happened between two people privately and we have no way of knowing what actually happened.
There was an amazing, like, this video that I saw yesterday. I literally cringed if somebody's like, this is how I say F the system. And it's somebody filling like an Aunt Jemima bottle with like a Pearl Milling the company that it replaced. So they poured it out of the Pearl Milling Company bottle back into the Aunt Jemima bottle. And then like the comment section is full of people who are like, that's right, I grew up loving Aunt Jemima and we will never get rid of it. I'm like, really? Like,
We're so disempowered that that's what we see as taking a stand.
I'm like,
now.
look, it was stupid that they did it, but really, like, that took time. You had to set up a phone on a tripod.
Unless it was a total joke, but if
Maybe it
people
was.
were
Hey.
like genuinely commenting that they think that's a principled stance,
Maybe it
That's
was a
kind of
joke,
sad.
but I didn't take it that way. But like, you know, maybe I just wanted to laugh at that moment. So I was like, really? But it's like, that's like, you're like, we have literally no power anymore. So it's like somebody's like, I'm going out and buying all the Land O'Lakes butter before they change the logo.
I mean, I bought one of everything.
Well,
But then it all got blown up or watered down, I guess you could say, in the Texas flood.
there you go.
As
So-
far as like being able to separate the art from the artist, I will continue listening to Dance Gavin Dance.
Yeah.
I'm sure you will too.
Oh my God,
You cannot beat when the music is good. I still listen to Chris Brown. The music is just good, and you can't argue with that.
It is almost like music is like a harder one to get away from, right? Like, I know a lot of people who will not watch Woody Allen movies now, but it's a lot harder to not listen to Michael Jackson if you believe, you know,
Something familiar to you?
or something that depending on whether you believe the Michael Jackson stuff or not. Like, I'm just saying that's a controversial figure, and his music is no less popular than it's ever been.
Well, you could at least listen to the songs that they wrote before these allegations and still feel fine about it. I mean, betrayed by the
that's
game.
An interesting take. I don't know
No.
about like that. That's one of those things. 'Cause I talk
Your
a lot
career,
about.
like your
Yeah.
discography ends like when you get into scandal.
I talk about that a lot about how like I used to have an easier time. I've gotten much better at separating art from artist now because it's part of the job and you just have to. But before it was easier for me to watch the stuff from before they said stupid stuff on the internet because I consumed it before they said the stupid thing.
Yeah.
Now it's like I can put up with most of it anyways.
Now that you mention it, Carter, a lot of people were commenting that one lyric from the band. They say, "Don't ever
one?
meet your heroes. Reverence is temporary until the truth comes out," and that's so true. Like, don't idolize artists. Just enjoy
Never.
enjoy
Never.
what you enjoy, and if you feel principled about it or it bothers you in your conscience, don't listen.
Don't
I think you
put-
should actively avoid meeting your heroes. Like if you see them on the street, run the opposite direction.
Yes,
Yeah.
don't put people on a pedestal, especially celebrities and
Yeah.
anybody of fame, because like a lot of it is like it takes a lot of work and a lot of people to get them to look that way for you. Not just that's no one's denying that this artist or all these artists don't have talent, but so much work. Look at that media thing we just watched where all these reporters look really uncomfortable because of one minor change in how the report's being done. Like it's all an illusion, all of it. And you're better off just liking them for the things that they've made and keeping that distance. It's why social media was a mistake. We saw the David Archuleta thing where he starts
Which
lecturing.
I never thought I would see David
Yes, he's
Archuleta's
still in the
name
news.
back in the headlines.
He lectured
Is he
a
like
bunch
an
of
American
people.
Idol guy?
Yes.
Yeah.
He lectured a bunch of people at like one of his Christmas. He goes on like the Christmas music circuit basically in like Utah, and he's talking to them about his sexuality and people,
Utah
like,
being his homeland
Yeah.
as a former Mormon.
and people just walked out because they're like, look, he's doing this for 15 minutes. I'm not here to listen to him talk about. Who's
yeah, and then
banging.
as they were walking out, he was calling them out and being like, "This is making you uncomfortable because this needs to be said." And it's
Does
like
it need to be said? What did he say?
it doesn't. Though.
but here's
like
the thing.
basically that like his whole story of coming out and feeling accepted in his identity, blah blah blah. blah.
But what I'm saying is like, look, social media has blurred the lines where now these people don't realize that there's a time and a place for everything. And it's like, yes, you're fine to talk about that on your Twitter where your super fans will love everything you say and will agree with you anyways. That's awesome. You can connect with them there. But when you're hired to do a job for a specific job, you don't necessarily need to make everything about who you're sleeping with. I'm just saying, like, you don't want to, like, if you don't want to know what your celebrities, like, your celebrity idols are like outside of what they do for work, don't follow them on Twitter, don't follow them on any social media. But as a celebrity, don't bring it into the public either. Don't make it personal.
I think that's a great point. Except that now we live in the day and age of the influencer. So like
Yeah,
if they can
that's
make
different,
themselves more
though.
personal, they don't have to put in the work to become a character. They can just get brand deals for living off their social media and selling basically in what feels like inside access to their own lives, although it's completely staged for advertising.
I see those even though as two separate careers. Like I see the traditional celebrity as a different person from
yeah,
the influencer.
but if you're able to sell yourself as an influencer with the platform you've built off of your like
Yeah.
television or whatever career, like you've got it made and you don't have to audition anymore.
Yep. Well, it's like a lot of actors are like kind of like even Brie Larson tried to launch a YouTube channel. Like,
yeah, still grinding away at that, even though
but
no
a
one's
lot of
interested.
them don't realize how much work goes into being like an like how much work it is to seem like you're not doing any
Will
work.
Smith did that
Yeah.
with his apology video, which is weirdly
Overproduced,
staged.
Like,
yeah,
it would have seemed more sincere if you would have just held the phone up and done the
Right.
exact same thing. But it's like they don't understand that high production value doesn't equate to any type of honesty or felt sincerity.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but those are different kind of like I see musicians a little bit more like a traditional celebrity.
Mm-hmm.
So
let's move on to super
do
chats.
it.
Corey Anderson, I am not reading that.
I figured.
Slavky Nikki said, at Marion Carter, what are your opinions of 3 Days Grace Explosion song? I'm genuinely curious. Keep on going on Brett, Hannah, and the crew. I have not heard this song. Have you, Carter?
No, I'm looking it up right now.
I'll look into that.
3 Days. I haven't heard anything from them for like 10 years.
I'm sure most people haven't. Newt said, are you literally live?
Look,
yes, we are literally
I-
live.
I had to
Unless you're listening on Spotify. In that case, we are not
I
literally
had
live.
to give everyone a sign that I'm about to hit the button.
You don't understand. Brett gives us this really intense look. He's like, we're literally live. We're literally live. Like, he is the dad who
literally
is
live?
saying, I will turn this car around if you don't stop talking.
I will turn this podcast
I
around
was eating
right
Chex
now,
Mix.
and there will be no dinner.
To be fair, Carter did start this by chewing into the microphone.
Yeah, I said I'd be done by 2:58.
I will turn this podcast around and there will be no dessert. None.
No.
We're all grounded.
Biddy Beastly said that woman mentioned Natalie Denise. Check out her channel. She does deep dives on fashion designers being creepy.
I don't know if I need a deep dive
Wait,
on that.
what? PDF?
Are you saying it's the pedo?
Files?
It's peda.
Oh.
Yeah.
It'd be better if you
I
just
tried
said...
to.
Mary is like, haha, what's this fun word?
Well, it would be better if he just said PDF files, right?
That would have been funny.
Yeah.
In a
It's very
creepy sort of
common,
way.
they said.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. I mean, I was just looking at the story of like the founders of YSL, and there were these two men
The
who
gang?
no, Yves Saint Laurent,
Oh.
the
I was
fashion
like-
house.
I was like,
They're two men who were accused of trafficking young boys from Algeria and Morocco.
Oh my God.
I don't know any of the
Yeah.
details of that or whatever, but like I wouldn't doubt it.
I was like Gunna and Young Thug from Young Stoner Life. No.
No, not Young Stoner Life.
Okay.
MSMD74 said, "Love you guys."
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
1,000 Foot Deep End said, "I can't even bring myself to wear the Adidas my sister-in-law bought secondhand and gave to me 2 years ago when she found they didn't fit."
Do you
And
get-
in that case, I think it's excusable.
well, even
Yeah, but
some
then you're
people-
still
But if you're
wearing their
going to the
logo in
Adidas
public.
store and like doing a whole haul at the Adidas store, maybe that's questionable.
it
Well, if you
reminds
make
me
it
of-
look good, then somebody buys it, then it's your
No,
fault.
you want to make it look bad, so
Well, I
people
know,
don't
that's
want
the
to
point.
wear it anymore. So, like, yeah,
I'm
like,
sure Chris Poole was in a whole crisis of conscience over this.
it rem-
Adidas is really his thing.
it reminds me of.
I just like, I feel like it's this weird stance where like once again we have this conversation where there's a lot of people who work for Adidas, the athletic wear brand that has nothing to do with this
Yeah.
attempt to be high fashion, who are like,
That was throwing
Don't-
me off. I didn't know they had an attempt to be high fashion.
yeah, with especially Kanye, but and Balenciaga, like that's like the products photographed in like the ads were a collaboration with Adidas. Like it's crazy they haven't had to answer for it.
Yeah.
So like if you own Adidas sneakers, like don't go barefoot, but at the same time, like
It reminds me of
Skechers.
this dilemma reminds me of the people who are like they really hate J.K. Rowling. Like, I want to play the new game, but I don't want to support J.K. Rowling. I got to go find a thrift store or a secondhand store where I can buy the game because I love everything she's made and I'm addicted to Harry Potter for some reason, but I hate J.K. Rowling. That must be some crisis to be in, to like love something but just despise.
Bit of a first
the-
world problem. as
Yes,
they
it is a very big
say.
first world problem.
Gold Macro said, "It's Dances with Wolves in Space. Easy enough."
That's what he's saying Avatar is.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Brie Louise said Brent Walsh from I the Mighty had a similar allegation.
It's just banned, man. It's like bands.
Yeah,
It's like
I
it's
mean-
that life is not conducive to like if you're already like a
Yeah.
questionable person and then that lifestyle throws you into questionable situations and behavior and your worst impulses are easy to act upon. Like
Basically, the whole Warped Tour scene got
It's a chicken
exposed
egg
gradually for that.
Yeah.
Corey Anderson said, "Listen to Hot Mulligan."
okay, there's a
I don't
suggestion
know.
for you guys.
I'll
that
take
is.
these requests actually and write them down, and I'll tweet my responses if you guys
Oh,
want to
fun.
do that. What was the 3 Days
You
Grace
should
one
do
again?
music reviews.
I'll,
Explosion or
I'm
something?
thinking about it. Yeah, I've got 3 Days Grace pulled up. I forgot the name of the song.
It's
yeah.
Explosions.
Explosions.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, guys, we're gonna move on to
Yeah.
so Mia Khalifa.
This is gonna get
and-
Brett tilted. I already know it.
Nah, not as bad. It's very
Tilted.
easy. Call me a bit chauvinistic, but it's very easy for me. Like I don't. Really,
wait,
I don't really care what Mia Khalifa has to say.
I have to start off with: is Mia Khalifa related to Wiz Khalifa?
not related unless they
Let's
unless
just
they met
show
in the
this
video.
good
clip.
question.
Mia Khalifa appeared on Emrata's podcast, and they talked about predatory age gaps between older men and younger women, and people had a lot to say about it in response.
And are we talking about the fact that the media is trying to make Emrata a thing? I really don't like that.
I just like it because it's shorter, and I don't like saying her whole last name.
All right, guys, here we go.
She's not a
Ratatouille
one-name
will
icon.
suffice?
You know what I mean? Yeah, you call her Ratatouille in my
Ratatouille's
presence.
in. Here we go.
Any guy who goes after a girl significantly younger than them is severely lacking in their life. And I mean that confidence wise. I mean, like, they are falling short in so many places that is the only
place they can turn to feel like they have something on the scale of power.
And ultimately it's predatory. There's just no way to because you're manipulating someone who is not aware of what they're giving you.
Remember, guys,
It's unfair.
in the year 2022, no one is more willing to admit that women have no personal agency than other women. But the point here is that what they're
Amazing.
saying here is that women, when they're in the very early age of like their mid 20s, are somehow so unaware of what's going on in their life that a man older than them is somehow going to take advantage of them through voodoo. Or of some sort. But my question was, like, when we originally came to this topic, I said, okay, does this work the other way? And then we found this amazing article for this new TV show on Hulu.
Yes.
This is the name.
It's called Back in the Groove,
Yes.
and it stars 3 women in their 40s who are in this game show dating men half their age who are in their 20s. And one of them even brought their 21-year-old son to be a mole in the contestants pool and give her intel.
So that means
that means one of the other women in their 40s formed a connection with the other one's 21-year-old
Also,
son.
like, that son had to pretend like he is interested in these older
Yeah.
women, one of whom is his mom.
Okay.
Oh
Ew.
God, you're right.
It was really weird
This
to
is-
watch this trailer, I
this is-
gotta say.
Can we watch it?
I think it would be
It's
copyrighted.
This is my
Okay.
first question. Okay, we talk a lot about power imbalances. Is there in any of the multiverse, is there a universe in which the men's version of this show can be made now, where the dad's like, I want to date a woman my daughter's age. I'm going to bring my daughter, as Dane would say, my daughter to this retreat with a bunch of 21-year-old
Right.
women. There isn't a world where that gets
Like,
made
don't
now.
tell me that this isn't some controlled op campaign
It's
to
also-
normalize this in our eyes.
Well, it's also like tacitly
It's
admitting
creepy.
that men are more mature than women at the age. They're telling me that men at the age of 21 are able to.
I don't know about that because in the trailer it literally showed one of them looking a woman in her like mid 40s in the eye and saying, "I have a lot of mommy issues." So I don't know if guys in their 20s are all that mature.
Then let's rephrase that question. Say that same scene happens and it's a girl and 21 years old and it's a 45-year-old guy and she's like, I have a lot of daddy issues.
Like
That
super
doesn't-
creepy.
that doesn't
Should
get-
not be on TV.
It doesn't get made in 2020. In 2007, I buy that show gets made.
Back in the day.
Back in the day, I buy that
Maybe.
show gets made.
Maybe.
I don't buy that show gets made now. And here's the other thing. When do women, adult women, start actually being responsible for their own actions in relationships?
Well, here's the thing. If there is a valuable conversation to be had about predatory men seeking out younger women to take advantage of them, it's not Mia Khalifa and Emily Ratatouille who should be leading that conversation. One person pointed out getting dating advice from Mia Khalifa is like taking mortgage advice from a homeless man.
The other person said taking mortgage advice from the guy from FTX.
Yeah.
What I
so-
see in this video are 2 women who are actually quite incredibly young to be divorcees.
That's
one
the
is
problem, that they're
28 and
divorced.
one is 30. Emily Ratatouille has a child even from her marriage, which ended quite recently. They're bitter and resentful seeming. They even the caption of that video that was posted on Twitter said like, "Tell me you've hit the wall without telling me you've hit the wall." I
That
mean,
is
maybe
a
that's
different version
that's
of the
mean,
wall.
but also like they're not giving anyone else a charitable interpretation.
Okay.
I think part of it is that they're talking about this in like too weirdly broad of a phrase,
That-
and
yeah.
Right.
and they aren't like. Let's not toss around predatory too casually here,
She
especially
didn't
in light
give-
of everything we've all been talking
They
about.
indicated they were
recently.
like minors or something.
right,
like
right, right.
that.
Like
No,
what-
no. They said young. Okay.
Also, like what is an inappropriate age gap,
Right.
right? Like,
There's
and
no
that's
specifics.
that's subjective to who you are and like all sorts of things. But like, I do want to say, I believe there can be relationships between men who are much older than the girls that they date that are based on men who lack emotional maturity and are trying to basically stay weirdly young and are unhealthy in a lot of ways. I wouldn't describe them as predatory, but I don't think that every age gap relationship is necessarily rooted in like a healthy attachment. That is not to say that people who have an age gap can't have a healthy
I
relationship.
want to listen to something really quick. Hold on.
Any guy who goes after a
Any
girl
guy.
significantly younger than them.
So he says like she says guys
Significantly
and
younger
girl-
is very ambiguous.
there's ambiguous. Here's the other thing: if it's an older woman seeking out a younger man, now I'm using woman.
She's
and man,
empowered.
She's
Right, like,
she's
where
empowered
is-
and she knows what she wants. If it's an older guy seeking out a young woman, he's somehow insecure.
Where is the
and-
flip side calling out the Chers
Yeah.
and the Madonnas
Yeah.
who are currently on a whole press tour, basically
Right.
Oh my
talking
God.
about their
Yeah,
and
my
even
boy.
Britney. Even
Yeah.
Britney is in a
Yeah.
relationship with
Kris
someone
Jenner, I think,
significantly
too.
What
younger
is
than her.
significantly,
Kris Jenner,
though, exactly?
yeah. Like all of these older female celebrities are getting attention in the press for dating men significantly younger than them. No one is calling it predatory.
No,
No one is
they're-
stigmatizing it the same way.
It's empowering. You know, they're living their truth or some
What's
know.
funny is
modern-
like in a pun, cougar is in the Hulu show title, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's like a predator. It's a cougar.
It's a predator.
And they're admitting that.
The one girl says, I hate to admit it, but like I think I'm the cool mom. Imagine the dad being like, I think I'm the cool dad. That's just creepy.
No, it doesn't.
And,
Yeah.
but
And
it is-
I think age gap. I mean, like, no one will be surprised that I watched the Netflix reality show Love Is Blind.
Of
I
course.
love
I've seen it.
that.
I love Love Is Blind. I'm so proud
I
of you having
watched it.
seen it.
2
Brett,
seasons.
you need to get onto it.
Never gonna
You should
happen.
watch the third
Please.
season. It's crazy. I have to say, every time they've had, I wouldn't even call it a significant age gap, but a woman who is 2 to 5 years older than the guy she ends up selecting, it always falls apart.
Right. It
I
does.
like.
Yeah,
I feel
that's
like that
true.
is notable.
also
like,
they're
But then they feel like
Also-
that's their only option, so they can't
right
switch.
and like throughout at least American history, the average age for men and women like getting married, it's always slightly older for men.
yes,
like
5 years.
it's
I
it's
think so.
normal for there to be an age gap between
Right.
men and women. I don't think that's weird. I think it is a very weird thing to have this podcast where you're like, any man who dates someone significantly younger than them without defining
What
what
significantly
significantly
is.
younger
Right.
means.
Okay, this is the other question. They said that when it's a man doing it, it's a power trip. Is it not a power trip? Are women somehow more pure? Is that what they're
Well,
saying?
it's also a
Is
power trip
that-
because they're like, look, I'm so hot, I can get this younger guy.
Yes.
I
in
mean, yeah,
regards
it's-
to, I mean, even on the flip side where it's the significantly younger woman, there is still a power dynamic. And this one tweet pointed it out. They said, any girl who goes after a guy significantly higher status or more powerful and older than her is severely lacking in their life in a self-respect. Or they said in self-respect wise. Ultimately, it's predatory because you're manipulating someone who is not aware of what they're giving you. So all of these younger women who are specifically seeking out relationships with men significantly older than them,
yeah.
they're also trying to do a power trip of their own.
It's and that's the far more like that seems to be this wholesale far more common one in society nowadays is that the younger woman seeks out a man with more resources.
Look,
It's a stereotype
Yeah.
for a reason.
right. I'm not a fan of Hugh Hefner,
yeah.
but I will say, yeah, hot take from me.
Surprising.
I'm anti Hugh Hefner, but I will say, I think everyone who was involved in a relationship, like the girls who were like his girlfriends, who lived in his house, who did those reality TV shows, to a certain extent, knew what was going on there.
Oh, yeah.
There was a clear
Yeah.
exchange of like
Right.
benefits for everyone involved. And I, again, don't like the Playboy stuff. I don't like Hugh Hefner, but like, I don't think that we would necessarily classify the people who had these like very formal public relationships with him and who got financial benefit from it. I don't necessarily think we'd classify that as a predatory relationship.
Yeah.
I think that there are parts of it that are
It's
unhealthy. I think that emotionally people who enter into those kind of dynamics are maybe not in a good place. But I don't think that we can just say all men who do this are predators. Also, that all women who enter these dynamics are not aware of what kind of exchange
Right.
is
And
going
I'm sick
on.
of it. I'm sick of the I get to decide later that I wasn't in my right mind when I was in my mid 20s attitude of it all. You don't get to rewrite your own history for something like this. Here's the other thing. What if somebody is not playing the victim like they are and says, look, I prefer men that are older than me. Is that girl who's 22, 23, 24 years, whatever, is she not of full enough agency that she gets to own that, live that, date whoever she wants? Or does Emily Ratatouille get to decide who is what your level of maturity is to deal with and who is the predator?
This is us grappling with the consequences of many, many decades of like sexual revolution ideology.
social engineering.
But like, I think that when it comes to grappling with those consequences, the last people who have any right to talk about it are people like Mia Khalifa or Emily Ratatouille.
A model and a porn
because,
star.
Yeah, because look, Mia Khalifa was out here wearing a hijab on Pornhub. If there's anything that, like, that is incredibly predatory in my opinion.
Yep.
I think that that's predatory against women who specifically wear these garments for their modesty and to not be viewed in a sexualized manner, but she used it to
wow.
objectify
Yeah.
them. That's predatory. How about Emrata, who appeared in the notorious Blurred Lines music video with Robin Thicke and made money off of that, made a name off of that, and you know, I would like to see her go on some kind of apology tour, even though I don't think that's that big of a deal. Like, just put your money where your mouth is
They
for
never
once.
do.
These two women are the last people who have any room to talk.
Well, also, I feel like I would feel differently if they were saying, when I was 21, I dated someone who was X number of years older than me, and it was a bad relationship, and I feel like ultimately women need to be careful. Like, if they talked about it from their own experience
Yeah.
and just said, like, this
They
can
don't
be
do
bad
that anymore. They
I
paint
would understand,
broad
but instead,
brushes.
instead they're like, any man who does this is bad, instead of taking accountability for like why they might be bringing this up. Like, I think number one, if you really wanted to warn young women about the dangers of potentially getting involved with someone who is significantly older than you, you need to give context to why you feel this way.
And tell me I want to know what significantly is to them, because it, like, in a
What would you think
in
it is?
society, I have no
But
idea.
they benefit from not elaborating on
Yeah.
what they're talking
15
about.
like, we're talking about it because they didn't give an
both
inch.
of these women have initiated divorces with their husbands within the last 1 to 2 years.
Yeah.
They're also jumping on a bandwagon that we've already seen, right? Demi Lovato
Julia-
came out with her whatever
Her
Valderrama
song
stuff.
29.
Taylor Swift has one on her album about John Mayer,
Julia
like when
Fox
they were
is talking
within
about stuff
10
like
yeah.
like Julia Fox, Demi Lovato, Emily Ratatouille,
Taylor Swift.
Even Taylor Swift,
and I think of all of these people, and like even Meghan Markle, not for this reason, but like for the stuff about being a victim of, like, I can't think of a party worse than like those 5 women in like a ballroom talking with wine glasses. Like, that is like literally my hell.
Yeah, no.
That is my hell.
I just feel like we are becoming more aware of like this potential problem, but they are not doing anything helpful to advance the conversation, right?
I also want to ask this question. We hear a lot, especially when these discussions come up, about the concept of power imbalances. That to me is also, it's a vague bludgeon.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know if anyone can actually define to me what the exact, perfect, exactly right power balance is. That means that he has just the right amount of power, she has just the right amount of power. Equality is kind of a misnomer, because as men and women in a traditional relationship, you complement each other, meaning that where you may lack, they may fill those gaps, right? Like, we as men and women are inherently different. Therefore, we fulfill different needs. Therefore, we provide for one another in ways that we can't provide for ourselves. When you're looking for a relationship to be successful, is there such a thing as a traditional relationship that has exactly the right
An
power?
equilibrium?
Yeah, I
Well,
don't think.
Emily Ratatouille and Mia Khalifa think that all women are like them. Completely financially independent,
Yeah.
set for life because of their name recognition and fame, which they will sacrifice anything to retain. And also infinitely hypergamous, so they will leave any long-term partner they're with, even if it's the father of one of their children. They think that this is representative of all women. It's not. Other women don't feel this way. They don't feel the need to be complete equals or superior
Because it
to
doesn't
their
make sense.
partners.
Because it doesn't
that
make
doesn't
sense.
make sense in practical life.
No, that's funny too, because you think about these. The best example that they always give is like, look, a middle-aged CEO or a younger person with a lot of money, he will take a woman who has no name, no money to her, not a penny to her name, and he will marry her because he wants to have kids. He wants to raise a family with her. Women who are powerful and CEOs do not date down and marry 20-something-year-old dudes because he can stay home and raise a family with her, because that's just not how women are programmed. Even as society has told them that what they should be doing is trying to be equals with men. It doesn't work.
And even
that
the
way.
women who are participating in that Hulu series don't recognize the consequences of their own actions. Like, there was one who was 43 years old saying that she still wants to start a family with someone. And it's
That-
like, what would that mean for you? Getting a dog?
Yeah.
Also,
Like, I don't understand.
What if you really want to start a family? with someone, why would you be dating a 21-year-old?
Right.
Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Someone
it makes
has to be
sense.
alive to take care of the kids.
Well, that's true.
To
Good
inherit
point.
the estate.
It makes sense in the reverse, actually, because like fertility is
Right.
higher among younger women. It's not the same for men, right?
Right.
It's so fun. Like I read
In
these
fact-
articles
sorry.
all day, right? And I'm reading these articles about like, on the same page, I'll see something about like all these women supporting abortion and like you don't need to have kids, you don't need this. And then the next topic down, it's about some middle-aged actress who didn't try to have kids until she was 48, and IVF treatments have been painful and humiliating.
Well, don't worry. Mindy Kaling says all girls in their 20s should have their parents freeze their eggs.
Yes.
Because IVF
It's
is not
so
a big deal,
freaking
and it's
weird.
also cheap, which is not true. I'm lying.
What was it she said about the family? That was the part I thought was really, really shocking, was the part about the family. It says, so it says, she says, a lot of men my age or older have already been married and have families and aren't wanting that again, she said. I haven't been married and I still want a family, so I tend to gravitate towards a younger, athletic, gorgeous guy.
This woman is like 43.
Yes, but what I'm saying is like when a guy says like, look, I want to marry a younger woman because she hasn't had a family yet, he will be called sexist and said that like you should not be doing that.
Well, the issue there is like if it were flipped with the genders, he still wouldn't have any entitlement to a woman in a more advantageous position in life if he's already started a family before and it's ended. Like his previous marriage has ended.
Yep.
Just like all of these women. I think that all three of them are single mothers.
The upside is that Taye Diggs is the host, and Taye Diggs is a fantastic actor.
Yeah, I like that it was kind of an inside joke about, the movie with Angela Bassett.
Yep. Oh yes, How Stella Got Her Groove Back. I didn't even think about that. I was thinking of Murder
That's
in
what the
First.
show's basically.
That's incredible. See, they will
riffing
franchise.
off of.
They will. Here I was thinking that they couldn't do a James Bond game show, and he's just proving that you can apparently do that somehow. So yeah, it's just look. I'm not as angry about it. It's a lot harder to get angry when it's literally like I'm sorry, but a porn star and like a model who's been nothing but a victim.
the last
for
people who should be preaching.
It's
to us about
fine,
morality.
but it is one of those things where it is kind of jarring and disorienting when those two articles are like right next to each other, where it's like women perpetually the victim of older men, women cougars dating younger men because they're empowered. I'm like, so which is it? Like
Yeah.
pick a lane,
Pick a struggle.
pick a struggle. Exactly. All right,
Let's
go
move
to
on and talk about Shark Week.
Oh.
You almost forgot, Brett.
Oh my gosh.
Biggest
All right,
story of the week.
Guys, this is it felt fake to me. It's not. It's the Washington Post. So if you were wondering, yes, Shark Week lacks diversity and overrepresents men named Mike, a scientist says.
They've done a study on the demographic breakdown of Shark Week.
Just remember, this study cost money. Says Lisa Whitenack loved sharks as a kid. I'm going to read more of this because it's just really funny.
Yeah.
So let me.
It sounds like
Yes.
something you'd find on The Onion.
Yes. She spent rainy days leafing through a guide to sharks in Reader's Digest. Every summer, she would watch Shark Week.
Rainy days, like she's a
Yes.
Hallmark character.
Discovery. She would watch the Discovery annual TV event that spotlights the ocean predator with 7 days of dedicated programming. But when scientists appeared on her TV screen, she rarely saw any woman she could look up to, because that's what I do. I watch TV for people that I can look up to. Remember
Well, no,
what we
you're
were
looking
just saying
for a
about-
male role model
That's
on Shark
Think
Week.
about this girl. Like, she's watching it, this thing that she apparently likes, Shark Week, and looking to be unhappy.
This is my favorite.
What is this mindset?
This question is so great, though. Like, says, why would I know I could do that? Whiteneck said. I don't come from a family of scientists. I didn't see very many people that look like me on television. Yes, everyone who's ever been a scientist or succeeded in life had to use a television to find out that it was actually possible. The funny thing is, I actually had like a weird correlation before. This is going to seem like, follow my brain logic here.
Okay.
Just a little bit. Okay. When I started skating, okay, as you're developing your skill set, you have to, at least in my case, I didn't like skating obstacles unless I had seen somebody skate that obstacle before, because in your head, it inherently triggers in your mind that I know that this is possible, that somebody
Right.
could do that. As you get better and you develop your skill set and your confidence, you can go and skate stuff that's never been skated. And if anything, I went the other direction. I preferred to go look for things that other people either wouldn't skate or wouldn't think to skate. If we're talking about this in the context of like growing up and becoming a full-fledged adult with your own thoughts, feelings, intelligence, and logic, as she grows up, she should be able to get out of the childish mindset that I need to see somebody on TV that looks like me to go and get a job.
Also, all I'm hearing from that is I should also be on TV when I grow up. Like,
Yes.
that's the ultimate goal. I really feel like we don't get like a daily or monthly catalog of like every science lab in the country that shows all the people
Right.
working there. And if they are predominantly white men, like I'm not personally
Named
offended by that. Yeah. Mike is like a whole other thing. Like, yeah, let's get creative with our names. But like what she's actually saying is like the TV runs my life, and if I don't see it on TV, it's not real to me. I am not able to think outside of my magic box.
Plus, now you have Netflix where they have you ever seen the picture? It says the group of scientists in Switzerland who discovered the black hole, and it's just a bunch of white men, and then it says the Netflix version, and it's just all black.
The fact that she's so obsessed with who gets screen time, it kind of bolsters that tweet that I've mentioned before, which said like women only operate in the hive mind, and then a woman replies, according to whom? Like you're only proving the point.
I also love that she was so offended by this that she went on to become a scientist and do her own research into Shark Week and not just sharks.
Right.
So
like you're not all that interested in sharks, are you?
Is she actually a scientist, or is she just a pollster? At which point I should also get funding for my research institute.
She is now a biology professor at Allegheny College in Meadville, Pennsylvania. Found her way into Shark Week research anyway. When the pandemic lockdowns came in 2020, well, that was hard on all of us. So
Again, I reiterate, shark. Is she researching sharks or just Shark Weeks?
She saw an opportunity to study the source of her old misconceptions. Was Shark Week feeding audiences the wrong message about sharks and who studies them? Somebody had to go and ask for money for this. Whiteneck led a team of researchers to examine hundreds of Shark Week episodes. Maybe she just wanted to be able to binge watch episodes without feeling guilty.
Yeah, she's like, I'm working.
She watched billions.
I respect that.
She watched weeks of episodes that aired between 1988 and 2020 in a study published last month by the Public Library of Science.
88 and 2020.
This girl
all
must
34 years.
Their research claims
I have to do this. No one call me or ask me any questions. I'm working.
Their research claims that Discovery's programming emphasized negative messages about sharks, lacked useful messaging about shark conservation, and overwhelmingly featured white men as experts.
It said over 90% of the 229 experts featured in 201 Shark Week episodes were white, the study found, and 78% of them were men.
Okay, two things.
What a travesty.
blasphemy.
Useful messaging seems subjective. I'm not sure how we prove that. From one research expert to another, my friend. Also, why does she care about like Shark Lives Matter? What is this negative messaging about sharks?
COVID really did a number on white women's mental health. huh?
Well, many people watch way too much on TV for sure.
Like
Except for this girl, apparently she was already like
she was
down the
working.
rabbit
She
hole.
was
Studying.
working.
It says
Right.
specifically in 2020, after they announced the roster for Shark Week TV specials, the scientists and TV critics for Shark Week lambasted them for featuring 6 white men out of the 8 named experts.
You cannot
That's
tell
just
me,
stir crazy.
You cannot tell me that racism isn't okay in American society now, because you're wrong. It is allowed. You're just only allowed to do it in one direction.
Yeah.
Carly Bohannon, a marine biologist and co-founder of Minorities in Shark Sciences,
Oh my gosh.
praised the study for putting numbers to her and her colleagues' long-standing concerns about diversity in both the media and shark science.
So you're telling me they founded an organization that objected to this, but never managed to do the research themselves? You just have to watch 2 decades worth of Shark Weeks, apparently, to figure it out.
I'm more offended that none of them got their start with Jaws. Like, really, that's what bothers
That's
me.
the real starting point.
Like if this lady doesn't have a ringtone that doesn't say like we need to close the beaches, she's doing it wrong.
They really jumped the shark. But
Are you reading the?
Look, I'm just saying we live in we are an unserious people living in unserious times. It is
your only option is to laugh.
What I love is I love that somebody had to like. It's one thing to believe something like this. It's another thing to go like this and go to a superior at work who you may or may not have a certain amount of respect for and be like, look, this is what happened to me when I was growing up. Can you give me X amount of dollars so that I can figure out just how many women weren't included into Shark Week? And they're like, Shark Week? like the thing with the show. Like, yeah, it's the reason I got to where I'm at now, and I need you to give me money to figure out why that happened.
She's
And then
resolving her
someone
childhood trauma.
did.
And
Someone funded this girl's research.
I
just want to put that on the table.
I would rather watch the documentary of the intersecting lives of her and the guy who like was okay.
Are you okay
It's
over
the
there?
stink bug is just like
Yeah, you
bouncing around. The
You get
ceiling.
used
Sorry.
to it. You get used to it. I would love
Amateur hour over there. He doesn't even know to ignore the stink bugs.
the documentary of her life and the intersecting life of the poor soul who like agreed to the funding is way more interesting to me than imagining that. Like, the story doesn't even seem real to me, but I guess
No,
like,
I think she made it up for this interview.
it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, also a lot of people, what we're learning, COVID broke a lot of people, and maybe it brought a lot of those childhood insecurities to the forefront, and modern social engineering puts words to it. Like, when she phrases it, the way she phrases it, that looks like an AI wrote that.
I think it's crazy that this girl was like, I didn't see anyone like me on Shark Week growing up. So instead of becoming enough of a shark expert to be on Shark Week, I just am going to attack them, especially those white guys named Mike.
We don't aspire to overachieve anymore.
She's not solving the problem. She's just complaining.
Yeah, we don't strive to actually like
Also,
solve
disavow that
problems.
this is a problem. This is not actually a problem.
We don't strive to actually be better now. We strive to bring everyone down to our level.
I want to see a union of men named Mike who are like, how dare you target us like this?
Yes, the
Mike marginalization needs to stop.
Yes,
And no one on staff is named Mike, right? We
No.
need to call a Mike and
surprisingly.
be like, could you comment on the accusation that you are overrepresented on Shark Week?
When are we going to fulfill the Mike quota?
We all grew up seeing one type of person on TV. Really?
Guys named Mike.
It's, okay.
Where is Mike Rowe? Oh my gosh, bring Mike Rowe on
Oh,
this
yeah.
podcast right now to comment on this.
Shark Week further concentrates power in the form of publicity and media attention in the hands of white male featured scientists, exacerbating academic power imbalances. Hey, I'm
I
all
cannot
for
listen to this anymore.
I'm all for
I
like
can't do
calling
it.
out the joke that is experts on TV. So I'm actually with them on that. Experts on TV are a joke anyways, but they should get the ancient alien guys on there too. The ancient alien guy on there too, so we can talk
No,
about.
who's that guy who has the Netflix special right now that like someone was like, this
Graham
is...
Hancock.
Thank you for knowing exactly where I'm going. They're like, this is the most dangerous special on Netflix. What's it called?
It's called Ancient Civilizations or
Yes.
something. No,
Yeah.
maybe it's ancient. It's something ancient.
Let's talk about academia bias, where they're literally like, this guy who's questioning the timeline of humanity is too dangerous to exist. Like, why is this girl getting funding when people are ignoring that guy? It doesn't make any sense.
It's the same stupidity that talks about like why it's racist for the bad guys in Wednesday to be black, but not. It's
Yeah.
when you,
but in reality, even the black actors playing them
loved
don't
it.
care.
And yeah, well, listen, when your prism, when your view of the world is colored with that lens, it's always going to be negative. Like, there isn't a reality in the multiverse here either where she's happy with her life because she's just not programmed that way.
She's saying that I liked this thing, Shark Week, and so I looked for a problem with it. Like, that is the mindset that's governing apparently young academia right now. Like, that's messed
Well, it's
up.
like, look at this thing that a lot of people enjoy. How
Yes.
can I make it about me?
Well, not just that. It's not even just that. She says it also lacks messaging about conservation issues. It's not about conservation issues.
She said it lacked sufficient, like effective messaging.
That's
so
what I'm
it's
saying.
completely subjective.
They come into everything and they ruin it. Not everything has to be for everyone. Sometimes it's just about a guy getting mauled by a shark. Sometimes it's
Clip that.
Just sometimes it's about this, and it's
Well,
not
there-
about you. It's like that's why I give so much leeway to a lot of the things when like I actually do agree. Like sometimes it's not about me and it doesn't need to be for me. But in that case, you just pass it by. Is it because you tied your identity so tightly to this show and then it doesn't meet one of your requirements? Well, guess what? A lot of the things that I watch don't talk about things that I care about either, but I like it for different reasons. Watch a different show that does address conservation issues. It's the problem with activism, right? They have to go into everybody's space and ruin it. Imagine somebody came in here and they were like, well, you guys talk about a good amount of pop culture. Like people are like, why don't you guys cover video games? Imagine like a blog came out and was like, they cover this stuff, all right, the celebrity gossip. And
There's not sufficient coverage of anime and manga.
yeah, like that's a different thing for a different show. Like if you want that to be your thing, that's fine. That's not this thing.
Yeah.
It's peak entitlement.
Not to the viewers though.
No,
But to
like if even Shark Week isn't sacred, we are screwed. So
yes,
like,
protect Shark Week.
is there
at least.
anything more apolitical than?
I mean, not anymore.
No. Let's. We got some super chats.
Yes. 1,000 Foot Deep End said, by wearing a brand, you're essentially advertising for them.
See, then what you do is like if you're particularly ugly and you hate Balenciaga, you just wear Balenciaga. So
I mean, they choose ugly models on purpose, so
fair enough.
it's kind of impossible to win there. I think that this means that we need the death of logo mania, where it's obvious what brand you're wearing, just
Or
because
you
the
just,
logo
like,
is printed
put-
all over
There's
it.
nothing.
Put like tape over. Like I do sympathize with people who are like, I bought these shoes or whatever.
Yeah.
Like they are the shoes I own. Like I don't necessarily want to go out and spend more money on things. Like maybe just have someone paint over the logo. Like cover it up if you feel strongly. Like I don't think most people are going to be like, so you're wearing Adidas, you consent to this. I do think Adidas should have to comment on this collaboration, but you know, we should just avoid them. Maybe
like
don't
in-
buy new stuff.
Buy brandless clothes.
It's like
what I
plain,
do.
plain t-shirts.
Right.
It's but it's like we've had that discussion before. There's no cringier videos to me than the videos of like when people like count how much their outfit costs.
They do?
There's
People do that?
That's a that's like a subcategory of videos. So like
That's so
shirt, like,
tasteless.
100, jeans
What?
250, belt 100. Yeah, and it's like there's a really funny one the other day that I couldn't figure out whether it was real or not because the world we live in is so nuts. Where the guy has 17 pairs of like briefs on, and then his pants are just down past his knees, and he's like shirt 150. Belt 150, and then he gets down to the underwear. He's like 50, 50, 50, 50, and he counts them.
If you
all
have
down.
a belt, why are your pants sagging,
Well,
sir?
but we live in such a stupid time in history that I couldn't figure out whether it was satire or whether the guy was serious or not. But yeah, that's the world we live in.
Bobcat said, I still think you all need to watch the play Danny Casolaro Died for You and make Luke watch it. I think he'll like it.
Okay.
I don't think I could make Luke do anything.
It's a play?
Yes.
Hannah
Where
Claire
are
was
we
like,
watching it?
Where can we watch this?
Hannah
Johnny
Claire's
Derp said, what gives? We're told women mature faster than men, yet they're the victims of these older men who they choose to date. Victim much, that is all.
every TV show that I watched in the mid 2000s that had like middle-aged female characters did at least one arc where the women would talk about like women prefer like they would like push the cougar narrative.
Okay.
Like, they like younger men because women mature faster than men and they hit their sexual peak
So
in their 30s.
my only contribution to this conversation is that there are men who are just messed up. Like they're emotionally
Yeah.
immature. They specifically, like if they were with an age appropriate person, or again, I don't want to use that loosely because I don't necessarily think age gaps are bad, but like they might be called out more on their behavior and their like kind of disrespect or
Yeah.
like immaturity, right? So when
Right.
you're with someone who's younger, whose peer group is younger, who doesn't know like you should be behaving better, it's easier to slip by, and that dynamic can become unhealthy.
Yeah.
And that's different than, again, I don't know that I would use the word predatory. I might use the word abusive, but I think a lot of people who have abusive behavioral issues are in some ways immature or self-centered or narcissistic. Like, they have other things at play.
Do either of those words attribute like malintent? Like when like are they attributing that he did it on purpose or that it is inherently predatory and it's just two broken people, like one person that's immature and doesn't know better, one person that's broken and just doesn't know better, but his behavior is predatory, but he's not necessarily seeking to hurt them. But do you understand what I'm saying?
Well, the
No.
word predatory implies that you're seeking to hurt
yeah,
the person.
but what I'm saying is like is that necessarily what they mean? That the guy's going into it meaning to harm them?
I think that there are probably men who specifically look for younger women to have influence over them and to like be able to behave a way that like if you're older or more experienced or you know people who are married or in stable relationships, they would be like, hey, that's unacceptable.
Yeah, I don't
You know
think
what I mean?
that's
Meaning
probably-
to harm is different than meaning to not be held accountable
Yeah.
by someone.
Yeah.
You know? Gold Macro said, so we're taking advice from quote unquote actresses who started how many of their stuff with I'm 18? I mean, actually,
Yeah,
Mia
that's true.
Khalifa started in adult films.
No, she
at
started Teen
21.
Mom, right?
She was on Teen Mom?
Before that, wasn't she?
Mia Khalifa? No, she wasn't on Teen Mom.
Are you sure? Because I thought that's where I knew her
Somebody
from.
She
Google
doesn't
this.
have kids.
I'll do it.
I know that she doesn't have kids.
Where we need to figure this
Do not
out
be
right
searching
now.
What's her
all this
origin?
up on my Wi-Fi.
There might be other ones on Teen Mom that went into that.
There's
No.
other Mia Khalifas.
Mia Khalifa does not have children, but she started at 21 after getting a breast augmentation, and she was scouted on the streets.
I think I said like they said like in one of the other articles that they found her at a Burger King or something.
No,
something-
that's Gisele Bundchen. She was
Oh.
discovered at a Burger
Oh.
King in Brazil.
Okay, yeah, I remember that Mia Khalifa was
Or maybe
scouted on the
Hotties just
streets
hang-
of like Miami or something.
Maybe hotties just hang out at Burger King.
Maybe.
How do I have
They love
an
the
alternate
Crowns.
history of this? How do I have like an alternate history of Mia Khalifa's upbringing and rise
You were
to fame?
severely misled, Carter.
Well, no, there's somebody
all
that
psyop.
started on Teen Mom.
Oh, Farrah Abrams.
That's it.
Oh,
That's
okay.
it.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
getting
yeah.
them crossed.
I don't think she like.
Wasn't
I don't
she
know
on
the
The
word
View?
star would be like her. I don't think so.
She later did.
She has
porn.
done adult
Yes.
films, but
Oh,
she,
okay.
as far as I know, isn't like a breakout star.
Yeah.
Nathan Koss said, starting the countdown until they all say sex is our word. Modern feminists think women don't have agency because power dynamics or something.
It's true. They literally want women to. You are all empowered while you're younger until you're 34, 35, and then you get to complain about it. and
I really
pretend
wish I
like-
could say what I really think right now.
Yes.
But I can't. Biddy Beasley said, y'all having a serious discussion about maturity while simultaneously pronouncing Emily's last name as Ratatouille is gold.
Yes. Well, you
I
know,
can't.
I'm not
I
saying
can't make
Ratajkowski,
myself say her last
Yeah.
name.
Yes. And I
It feels
refuse-
like a concession.
And I'm not saying Emirata. At least not more than that. Like we're gonna put it in the thumbnail tomorrow.
No.
That's already me conceding.
Only because it's shorter.
It
and
I
feels
easier to
immediately
type out.
protest. We can't make her like a one-name celebrity because she's stupid. You know what I mean?
Like
Like,
just call her Ratatouille. Just
Yeah.
she is the artist formerly known as Emily Ratatouille.
Or just Rat.
Yeah.
little ratty. We'll call her that.
Poker also forever said shark attacks excluding POCs for far too long.
Yeah.
Yes, where is the representation in shark attack victims?
It just gets me that they're like, it's anti like shark rhetoric. Like, what are we talking
Not
about?
Alan
The
Rogers
shark-
said sharks are literally racist. Why aren't people of color represented more in shark attack victims? Really makes you think.
Also, I want to know, like, for something like this, like, it's a prism of belief, right? That you have to look at it through that lens. But does anyone actually believe that the producers were out there, like, going through the experts and they're like, yeah, you, not you.
If your name's
you,
not Mike, you're not coming
you're
on this
not
show.
coming on this show.
Mike
Bad
Rowe, I expect a comment from you on this.
Bad App said, damn, I missed the pod. Hey, Carter, love you, jabroni.
Dude, I was wondering where Bad App was.
You guys are tight.
Also, I love that jabroni is like a thing.
What's a jabroni?
Jabroni is
Still
a
a
term
thing.
that the Rock used in like the
Wow,
early
so
2000s.
he is a cultural
He was
influence.
a cultural influencer.
Oh.
Well, he also had his eyebrow and he had everything. The Rock. He was so much funnier when he was actually he was inherently cool.
When he was playing the character he made up for wrestling.
Yes.
He had it, but he lost it.
Yeah. He
I
got-
love that my Google search history on my work computer is The Rock crying.
Also, like, there's a great meme that says like, because The Rock, like, he clearly, like, maybe he used steroids when he was wrestling, maybe not. That
Maybe
was
he still is.
That
I
was
don't
part
know.
of the no, he probably is now.
I
but
love the idea that he secretly blames himself for the failure of Black Adam, and he's like gonna get even more juiced up.
But the thing is, he had like the breast augmentation thing to
He
go.
did?
Yeah, that's why like there's
Because
like
someone commented like, "Why are The Rock's boobs so big?"
Wait, what?
Did it peck implants? Is that
yeah,
what you're
like,
saying?
so
no.
he had the thing where basically there's 2 or 3 pay-per-views in like the late night in like 1999 or early 2000s. Like Halloween is like Halftime Heat where him and Mankind do like this empty arena match, and then the pay-per-view after that where he's just randomly wrestling with a long sleeve shirt on, and they never address it and they never explain to you why. And it's
just
'cause
cold.
there was this stitch marks under there that were healing.
Wait, he got implants?
Because he was like a professional wrestler.
So
to look bulkier,
Yeah.
he got packed.
He didn't
So-
work out.
But I'm thinking that, but then he really bulks up after he quits, and there's this great meme of like him when he's young at a wrestler and he's tiny, and him now says like only The Rock could make The Rock look like a pussy, and then it says like the evolution of The Rock is like The Rock in 1999, like at his wrestling height, and then it's like The Rock now, and then it's just a boulder. It says the evolution of The Rock, and eventually he will just become a humongous boulder.
Bad App said they should do a Shark Week on Lifetime and talk about their periods.
There you go.
funny.
And that can start. That would have plenty of Michaelas instead of Mikes. And women can be in that one. They can talk about it there.
Thank you
Harold-
for giving us
Blood in the water. It'll be
thank-
called.
Oh,
Yes.
amazing! But also,
Thank
thank you for giving us permission, man. I appreciate.
Yeah,
that.
I'm happy to help.
Harold Wiley said, "How Stella got her groove back is a true story about the author. The guy came out 7 years later, and she felt humiliated." Wow.
I like that movie's like that's a throwback. It's like watching Set It Off. I meant to watch Set It Off this weekend, and I haven't gotten around to it. But classic.
Matt Gingell, let me know if I pronounced that right, said, oh, he said my
Hard G.
my last name is a hard G, like goat, then soft G. Oh, I did it right.
There you
Yay.
go. Yeah.
After the first botched attempt, have been hesitant to super chat. Sorry about that.
What happened the first time?
I guess I said something different. Carter, can you help get all Timcast songs to karaoke companies?
How
Working
does
on
one
it.
do that?
Are you actually
Oh, you
working
are.
on that?
So working on getting it
Wow.
on like
That's
touch
amazing.
tunes.
He's like, I'm already ahead of you. Don't worry.
Well,
He's
so
doing it right now. He's in the process.
believe me, I'm working on everything. But there is an instrumental coming out for Genocide, Losing My Mind that we just finished the video for, and that'll be
Okay.
announced soon. But yeah, I mean, some of these things you got to send to, and they're manually approved, so you have to just wait. So.
By the way, that the second I like Genocide Losing Mine more than the first song, and it's one of the songs where I'm not one of the people that listens to a song multiple times and tends to like it more the second or third time around. There are artists that are like that where I know I have to give them like 2 or 3 listens before I commit to a song or not, because usually music is so kind of visceral, like you like it right away.
Right.
But like there are artists where, in the rare example where their albums, right, where a song sounds better as part of an album rather than just an individual
Yeah.
song. But that song I liked more the second or third time around, and I think it has more to do, like, I don't think people understand how much like the mood you're in plays and whether you appreciate a song
yeah.
when you listen to it. And I was just in a different headspace the second time I heard it, and I liked it more the second time around.
Francisco Sanchez Jr. said a PCC uncensored maybe once a month on the website would be nice. CLM equals Cart Lives Matter.
How? Sorry.
Carts, sharks, and automobiles. We need to make.
No.
What do you think of doing
anti-shark reference.
PCC uncensored?
That sounds great.
It would help me
That'd
because
be
I'd be
fun.
allowed to finally swear like more than
More than you usually
not
do
allowed
on
to be
accident.
swearing?
I try not to swear very much.
It'd be
guys.
easier for me because then I get to voice all of my politically incorrect opinions, which
Yes.
I silence constantly.
I don't really. I think my opinions would be mostly the same. It would just be more vulgar.
I'd be going off during that segment about Emrata.
Yeah, but a lot of it is like my it's weird. Like when you have to pay attention to whether you swear or not, because it affects how you speak, right? Like swearing
Yeah.
it's not just that it's a bad word, that it's part of how words flow naturally out of your mouth when you're speaking and your train of thought is going. So I'm actually stumbling over my words as I'm trying to adjust my tone. And then I don't make points as cleanly as I normally would, albeit not verbally cleanly. But
You guys should hear how charismatic Brett is when he's allowed to curse freely.
I don't.
just
I don't
kidding.
appreciate the sarcasm, ladies and gentlemen. I don't appreciate the
But
sarcasm.
that's why you have me on, right?
She also said something about me being deaf the other day that I didn't appreciate either.
What did I say?
It was really. It was funny in the moment. It was like.
Was it?
Like, it was something.
I
about,
know. I
like,
remember doing this, and I remember it being like logical,
It was
but
when
also mean.
I think it was when Ye was here. It was
Oh yeah, I was saying you could claim that you don't know what he's saying because you're deaf in one ear. You
Yeah.
could be like, that's ableist. Like I can't hear him.
that. I was like, oh yeah, I could do that, but it is.
Brett was offended, but I feel like that's a
I
lot.
was
Like
not
that's a good
actually
tactic
offended.
for him.
It's like what?
Thank you guys.
I honestly
really
we
gets me in the Christmas spirit.
We need
Right.
to have like some Christmas decor up here too.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh my god.
If you guys have me on again, I'll wear a Santa hat. Yes. Before
I'll just
Christmas.
get like I'm wearing green today. I'll like add more layers every time I'm on
Yes.
until there's.
Maybe we could do Christmas decorations. More behind you, like I could put like
like
a
you could have
wreath.
like the Yule log going behind Mary.
Yeah, a wreath.
Right.
Yeah.
There's only
Wow.
There's only 2 more Tuesdays before Christmas. So
That's nuts.
By the way, guys, we had HVAC people up here recently too, and every time there's somebody that doesn't work here comes up here and they see just a bunch of money sitting on a table,
They never ask.
they never
but
ask, but they
do
look and they're like, like all I can think of is like they assume that it's all like real money and like I hate
I'm
my
sure
life.
they know it's fake.
And they just assume like my life is like, because you see like they probably have kids and they've got like kids that watch YouTubers that spend like have the videos like where they spend obscene amounts of money in a video.
I'm sorry, I thought this was real money. I've been under the impression this is real, and I've been
waiting
using it at
for
local
me.
businesses.
I'm waiting for the day like we get like a message where like somebody locally has been arrested because they accidentally grabbed one of these and like try to spend it at a store.
That's a lesson.
Thousand
Life
Foot Deep
lesson.
End said, Carter, I rarely buy name brand unless it's a thrift store find. I just like the look of, so I'm good there. Also, thrift store finds are a way bigger flex than high dollar price tag
Yeah,
for
to
a
be
fit.
honest,
LOL.
yes, I agree
know
with
Brett
that.
feels strongly about this already.
concur.
Yes. But it's a Midwest trope to be
Yes.
like when somebody's like, oh, I like your shirt, like thanks, I got it on sale for only
Yeah, yeah.
I don't. Is that
Dude.
Midwest? I feel like I totally relate to this.
This is Brett got me on this for what was it? My fake something. I had like a fake watch or something like that. Well, I can't take a compliment without saying like, "Oh, it's actually not
Thanks,
real."
it's
but
fake.
thank you.
Yeah, like,
no, but it's actually it's a flex.
It's a flex to be
I
like,
feel
oh,
like-
I did not pay full price.
Right.
For this.
No, I feel
going
like
up-
when you
yeah.
describe this thing where like people like add up the value of your outfit,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm used to the opposite when somebody's like, I got this whole look for $10 for a
Exactly.
bag
I
of
made
chips.
this.
That's what it's supposed.
Yeah.
That's what it's supposed
You don't
to be.
understand. I've had these shoes for 6 years, so if you divide the price out, they're really like.
So I paid
If I
$1
was-
a year.
If I was leasing these, I would have paid
Right.
very little over the time period. Yeah, and the funny thing is, like the last time I went thrifting out here, it's funny. Like if you thrift, if you travel and you thrift in different states, you notice like how different it is. Even just county to county or
Yeah.
city to city, thrifting in the suburbs is very different from thrifting in the city. Especially well, the city you'll end up at vintage stores rather than just suburbs.
But also like especially in this area, there's like some wealthier counties that border not
Yeah.
wealthy counties. So like if you thrift in one versus the other, it's very different.
I had a friend who like well off. I think he's like an investment bank or something. Lives in this really well off neighborhood, and they have what's called a free bench, where everybody just puts stuff out there that they don't want anymore. And it got to be so ridiculous with stuff that was like so desirable.
Affluent
that they had
people,
to-
man. It's
they
a
had-
trash bench and they're calling it free.
Like there was a 70-inch TV on the free bench, and they had to the city made them stop doing it because people were like coming in from out of the city to be like, "What is on the free bench today? No plasma TV. Look at this Blu-ray player with a box of Blu-rays."
Why would that be
Like,
bad though? Like why would the city stop it?
I mean, because it just attracts
People who weren't from their zip code were
Basically,
coming in.
It starts
that
crime.
seems
the,
illegal.
Yeah.
the homeowners
Undesirables.
association. The homeowners association was like, not on my watch. So,
Right.
all right, guys. You guys, thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Carter, give everyone an update on everything. How's everything going with the music?
Everything's going really good. We're wrapping up something that we'll probably announce soon-ish.
Excellent.
Actually working on something kind of secret right now, but it's turned a corner in my
A Christmas
production.
album. A Christmas album. You're working on a Christmas
Please.
album.
Well, we
Tim
were
Cast
working on a
Christmas.
Thanksgiving song, but we're going to save that for next year.
Christmas cast.
Christmas, yeah.
If
I would
you
like to
do not
that.
release a Christmas album, I will riot.
Christmas album, can I do a Christmas song?
Yes, you can do a Christmas song.
Okay.
Let everyone know they can find you, man.
Yeah, find me on anywhere at Carter Banks with the exception of Instagram, which is Carter Banks 4L. I tried to get a hold of the guy who has Carter Banks, and none of the 8 people that follow him have responded to me yet.
No.
Trying to get that
The
name.
persistency, like
I want it. Like, anyway. Also, YouTube, Carter Banks. I may start making videos of some
Yeah.
sort.
Review music.
Yes.
Tweet
All
me
right.
your review requests.
Perfect. Hannah Claire.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm Hannah Claire. I'm a writer for timcast.com, so you should go to timcast.com, click on the read tab, and read all of the stuff that our journalists are putting out. They work really hard. You should also follow Timcast News on Twitter. That's very important. Do it immediately. You can find me on Instagram at hannahclaire.b. You can find me on other social media platforms, but I don't remember the handles. And yeah, that's it. Guys, thanks for having me back. I really do feel like next week, both I'll watch Fast and Furious and I'll come in heightened Christmas gear. Because I love Christmas. I don't know if that's become clear to anyone.
When I was at an appointment earlier, and the lady there was like, "Do you like the holidays?" And I'm like trying to explain, like, I do actually like the holidays. She's like, "Well, how's the stuff going out here?" I'm like, "Well, it's a little bit different because I'm not like close to home or everything's like."
Don't worry,
I was like,
Brett. We'll have Christmas festivities.
I have my Charlie Brown Christmas tree up in my room, but I have to buy new bulb because the bulb broke, which is very sad. So, Mary, we have some super chats.
We do.
And then, yes.
Bad App said, get a new P.O. box. If you're referring to the fan mail P.O. box, unfortunately, we do not have control over that situation.
Given how everything goes here with the swattings and the this and the that, like,
Yeah, I don't see
maybe
And the
more access.
burglary, it's just, it never ends.
Maybe more access is not
It's because I
better.
asked Bad App if he'd make me a headband. And he's like, I need a P.O. box. So.
Yeah, well, we'll let you know if we ever do have a new one. 1,000 Foot Deep End said, I'm from Texas and did the thanks. I got them at insert secondhand store this past Sunday when a lady complimented my shoes.
See, it's absolutely
all
It's
regions.
a way of life.
It's just something. Maybe is it something about like modesty or like you
It's a
don't wanna-
humble thing,
Yeah,
I think.
it's a humility
you
thing, I
can't
think.
take compliments.
It's
like
the
it-
same thing where I think there are a lot of like they say this about girls. I don't know if guys do too. Where it's like if someone's like, oh, I like your shirt, you're like, thanks, I got it from this store. It's probably still on sale. I'll send you the link immediately.
Right.
Versus people who like weirdly gatekeep
Yeah.
where they got something.
Like, I'm not
I'll
telling
tell
you where I got
There's,
it.
Yeah.
there's this great Trevor Wallace bit where he's like, "Oh yeah, I got this shirt from this really underground store. It's called Urbane Outfitters." But yeah, like that to me is one of those things where, for fashion and stuff like that, or also just compliments in general, I can't take compliments. I have no idea how to like. I sound absolutely incomprehensibly stupid when I try to take any type of compliment because I don't know how to process that.
Just
properly.
say thank you.
That's what I do.
That's actually a trope in a scene from the movie Wayne's World where he keeps trying to say, he says, "I love you, man," and he keeps saying, "No, I love you," and then the guy keeps saying, "No, I love you, man," and then finally at the end the other guy goes, "Thank you," and the guy stops. So yes, maybe you're right. Maybe just saying thank you is the way to go.
It's the easy way.
Yeah.
And Bad Up, I am not reading that. Finally, you can find pictures of me on Instagram at Mary Archived. You can also read my inane thoughts on Twitter. That's also Mary Archived. And I don't shout this out often enough, but please post any memes related to the show or any out of context clips that you like to the subreddit for Pop Culture Crisis, and we will react to them on the next meme review.
Yes. All right, guys. Again, if you could please like the videos, leave comments on the videos, subscribe to the channel. I do not do that enough, but please, it helps the channel so much in the algorithm. It helps the channel grow. Thank you so much for doing that. If you want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram at Brett Dasovic. For the show, we are here Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Not 8 p.m.
Not 8 p.m. 3 p.m.
So it's not live.
No, it's not. 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is noon Pacific. It is definitely not 8 p.m. Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. Bad App says, Brett, you're beautiful.
Yeah, I saw that.
Thank you.
I agree.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Tell me it's beautiful too.
Now it's getting more complicated again.
We have to start outros like 10 minutes early to get through them.
Social media, Twitter at popculture_show, Facebook and TikTok at Pop Culture Crisis, Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. We'll be back with another episode tomorrow. We'll see you then, guys. Later.
Bye.